Let's roll, rolling at the start. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar open this podcast where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar open this podcast where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas thugs, fearless in our release. Jar open this podcast where the lies will decrease.
Where the light decrease. What up? What up? Love that intro song.
I know. I know every word now.
I probably do. I haven't actually tried, but I bet I know every word to it. So how's it going, everybody? We'll just kind of BS a little bit here while people filter in. But Wednesday. Yeah, we're a little late. I got up early. First thing I had to do today was work on the fence that the dogs are getting out of. So I got this one chicken, right, that likes to search the fence for the hole that the dog has made. Because what the dogs do, it's like chicken wire. They'll find a little loose spot and they'll get their nose underneath it and they'll lift it up. So then it, turns into like a little tunnel for them and they wiggle their way through. And this one chicken, it's a littler chicken. It's called a Polish. It's really cool looking. It's got a big old poof ball on top of its head. Like, I don't even know how it can see, honestly. It's got so many feathers. Just
it looks like it has a little headdress on.
Yeah. I should have uploaded a picture of it so I could show you guys. But anyways, this one chicken, the last time the dogs made a hole in the fence, I went to close the fence up and I'm like, holy crap, there's this chicken on the other side. And it's woods, and it's not only woods, but it's woods with viney thorns growing everywhere. So if you want to move through it, I got to basically travel through one of the paths that I've cleared before. Even this time of year, if it's in the middle of summer, good luck. But I'm trying to chase this thing around, and of course it's this big, so it can just go through every little nook and cranny, and they're actually pretty fast. And they end up having to corner it somehow. And so anyways, I caught it the other day, got it back in. I'm like, all right, that was a one-time thing, whatever. Well, no, it's not. Today, same scenario. It was on the other side of the fence. I tracked it down and I put it back over the fence. But where I put it over, it wasn't where the hole was, because I had to track it everywhere through the woods, right?
Yeah.
And the time I worked my way back through the woods to the hole, it had gone the same freaking hole. I had to track it down a second time. And oh man, it was a pain in the butt. So I started off getting scratched up, getting my hole, my not my holes, my my clothes caught on freaking thorns everywhere, ripping holes in them. Thankfully, I always just wear junk pants and shirts and stuff out there, usually at least. But it was one of those things where, all right, now I get to fix the hole. And so I went ahead and put on the Pam Bondi confirmation hearing, and I just listened along with that while I made the fence repairs. But the thing is, I got my sister-in-law's coming to the house to watch the dogs while we're out of town for the inauguration, and I really don't want the dogs to break out of the fence and have her deal with it, right?
Yeah.
She's actually flying here right now, and so she's not even like familiar with the whole scenario at all. And so I just want it to be as nice and easy and stress-free for her as possible. And with the dogs breaking out and neighbors calling me and texting me, and they're nice about it. They're fine. They're just a supportive neighborhood.
Somebody showing up to your house with a chicken. They're like, I'm assuming this is yours.
Right. Now it's the chickens too, but usually like one of my neighbors, one of like 3 or 4 different neighbors will text me and say, "Hey, yo, your dogs are out front." Because what they do is they get out the back, they run through the fence, and then they go around the house next door and end up in the front yard and in the street. And my dogs really don't know the rules of the road, and I'm afraid they're gonna end up getting hit, especially at night if they break out. So, just it's a total stressor, and I want to make sure that she doesn't have to deal with any of that bull crap while we're gone. I want to enjoy my time in DC and all that stuff. So speaking of which, this will be my last broadcast for the week. I think, Atlas, are you going to go live Saturday night still?
Yeah.
Probably solo? Okay, so Atlas will be going live solo on Saturday. So be on the lookout for that over on his channel, Atlas Thugged. But and he'll also be on X. But let's see. See some people have gotten in here. What's up, Knights of Gideon? Good evening. And what's up, House?
Yes, sir. Knights of Gideon runs their own YouTube channel. They a couple pastors. And they do a lot of good Christian work and preaching. I'm not sure how often they do stream, but they do stream pretty often. I was someone to give them a few tips and stuff. So I'm glad that they've been taken off. And it's good to see you in here.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't checked their channel for a while. I did subscribe a while back, but are they growing and stuff like that? I have to check it out.
Yeah, they putting out a bunch of reels and stuff too. What do they use? I think it's like the Opus or whatever. So they're posting a bunch of content, doing a bit better than I am on posting at least the short form stuff as well too. But
okay.
Shout out to you guys as well. Definitely check them out, especially if you're looking for a good source of Christian doctrine, preaching as well. I know it's pretty rare and hard to find, especially in a time where most people are kind of fed up with their with the church that they go to, for lack of better words. I saw something recently, and this is just go off on a tangent, but with like the Eastern Orthodoxy, a lot of young men in the West are going to Eastern Orthodoxy. It's kind of becoming like a fad trend, whatever you want to call it. And somebody I was listening to was the Right Response Ministry, somebody with Joel Webben, and he said he thinks a lot of this is obviously due to masculinity, but another aspect of just like a lot of people are kind of just like tired of thinking. And I think that's in reference to the fact of I think a lot of men are tuned into what's going on in the church, especially Protestantism. And so they kind of reach a point of like they get tired. This is like the 8th or 9th, 10th church they went to. They still see some of the same problems that exhibit themselves. And so they go, you know what, like I'm just going to go to Eastern Orthodoxy. Like none of this gay and fake feminist stuff exists here. I can at least turn my brain off because this church upholds a lot more tradition than where we are with Protestantism. So there's some good and bad aspects there too. But definitely check out Knights of Gideon. They will do much better than your average church. I can definitely guarantee you that.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. I'm going to have to start checking them out more often, to be honest with you. I see Freedom Fries comment and said churches are so gay these days, pride flags and at a lot of local churches. Yeah, that is a big red flag, and I wouldn't go to any of those churches. I'd filter through those and definitely avoid them. I appreciate the comment, definitely. Freedom Fries also followed up and said, that's why we pick Baptist. They're the most conservative around here. Keep it Bible focused and not political. Yeah, I agree with that pretty much. Unfortunately, the politics of things, the culture, what's the Breitbart's phrase? Politics is downstream from culture or something like that. And so it kind of goes hand in hand a little bit, but at the same time, like, I get what you're saying. I do appreciate a pastor that's willing to take the stance, and we've said this before, but I do appreciate pastors that are up there saying things like, it's a sin, calling the sin out for what it is, and stuff like that. I get it that Jesus hung out with the riffraff and stuff like that, but when it comes to our leaders in church in the modern day, I think a lot of these pastors are too afraid to risk not getting that weekly tithe or that weekly donation, and would rather cater to the sin, essentially the sinners, which, I get they're catering to the sinners, but I'm talking about specific stuff. I don't want to get like too too detailed, but you guys get it. I really appreciated it the other day, and I actually posted the sermon in the Discord. So that's something if you guys are interested in. We do have a little Christian channel part of the Discord where we like to share some of the the things that mean the most to us, essentially good videos of from the Christian aspect and perspective. But the one that I shared the other day was a guy that he wasn't afraid to call out what they're doing to as far as the trans agenda and what they're doing to um, minors with the transitions and all that type of stuff, and how he called out that it's a threat to Christianity, it's a threat to all that good stuff. Is something that I appreciated, something that frankly you don't see a whole lot. So
Yeah.
anyways, so make sure you guys do click that link down in the description to join the Discord if you are interested in that. If you're a Discorder.
Yeah, two things. One, I will respond to what you said there too. I kind of liken it, you see with Breitbart's, famous saying that politics is downstream from culture. I think if anything, the political nature of how it's being so shaped around modern sensibilities is an actual statement on how weak the church has been in our culture, specifically with contemporary times. I kind of think about that time when, in the Lord of the Rings, Aragorn runs to um, King Theoden, and he's like, Gondor is called for aid, like, will you answer? Right. And the churches in our day and age didn't answer. They had the call came, and it was like they didn't. There was
Mhm.
no answer at all. They were like, actually, like, it's not our job. And so we're seeing a culture kind of rampant with what it would look like when the church kind of abdicates almost all responsibilities to be the barrier between degeneracy and the people that actually flock inside of these churches. But the second thing, though, too, a side point as well, in the Discord, I will be hosting a Spaces on X. Notes are in that on the Discord. If anyone actually showed interest, they sent that emoji there on the Discord. I added you to a group just called Spaces on X Enjoyers. Didn't get too many responses on the time, but we will be doing Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll be hosting that. I'll send invites to everybody, so make sure you're following me on X. I'll also post a link to my X and the Spaces in the Discord, so people can just join right away, even if you don't want to follow me for whatever reason. Um, we'll be talking about things that will fall in this realm as well too. The main topic obviously will be essentially, Andrew Tate in the modern conservative movement, like good, bad thoughts, representative of like masculinity, the shape that it's taken. Why are men flocking to Andrew Tate instead of people instead of like people in the church or role models and such? Or rather, is he really the only role model that kids look up to? So everything that kind of revolves around that conversation too. But yeah, no, once again, the main thing though with it obviously is that masculinity's been under attack. And there's really been no biblical source that's kind of defended against that. Rather, they've bent the knee and allowed it to take over. And we'll get to it later on here with the P. Hake stuff too, once we move past the TikTok ban. But I think one of like the notes that you can see there as well is the fact that, it's a genocracy. You're watching Pete Hegseth kind of sit there like that Ben Affleck meme, because it's just a bunch of women shouting at him. So there's so much to get into there too. And I think a lot of this obviously revolves around why we see the current environment in the context that we see it too. So there's a lot to get into. But we'll start with the TikTok stuff. But if anything you wanted to say before we got into it.
No, I was just going to run through the agenda. We kind of put that off a little bit. Both went on a couple little side note rants, waiting for people to filter in. That's how live shows go, you guys. If we jump right into the topic right away, then people will start coming in asking about, well, what's going on with this or whatever, and it's like, well, we already talked about it. So, we try to kind of let everybody get the notification, all that type of stuff, and then we get into it. By the way, I wanted to say thanks for everybody that's in the chat. It's nice to see all the familiar faces. You know who you are. And then LOL a Marble asked, is Discord a different podcast? No, it's not a different podcast. It's just a place where it's just a community basically where we have like a general chat area. There is a place to chat like from like a voice chat, but it's all type. We all share links, and it's kind of divided into categories, kind of like a file folder on the left side with the specific categories. But you know, it's just something different. Like I've said multiple times. A couple weeks ago, we all joined the voice chat, and we're helping Yeti actually at the time fix the under part of his sink. Couple other people, I don't know what it was, but like 3 or 4 of us, including myself, all had sink issues at the same time that were like in demand of immediate repair. And of course, none of us being rich, you know, being a little bit tech savvy, you know, construction savvy. We're working on it, sharing our experiences, and also sharing links to like, hey, I found this is the one that I got. It was much better priced than what you were talking about, that type of stuff. So, love to see you there if you're interested in joining the Discord. But if not, you know, it's okay. We do appreciate you showing up for like every show. It's awesome. It gives me motivation to continue to do this. But we are going to get into the impending TikTok ban, and then we have a viral TikTok on banning TikTok, and I'd like to know your guys' thoughts on that. Of course, we're going to get into Pete Hegseth's confirmation, the many memes, some highlights of the event. Pam Bondi also went through her confirmation hearing today. There's not as many highlights, but there are some good moments of it. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch either of them in their entirety, but I did listen to a big portion of them live as they were going on. We got a lot of stuff. Ian Carroll's been doxxed. Elon Musk reportedly set to occupy office space in the White House. There was also rumors flying around that he might be willing to buy TikTok because apparently the going rate is about 40 to 50 billion. And if you're aware, that's what he spent $40 billion on X when he purchased it a couple years ago. I think it's a couple years ago now, but much more. Jack Posobiec giving his take on woke light. Sorry, I'm distracted. I think my wife just got home. I heard the door close. Hopefully it's her. The wife of the Cybertruck bomber has shattered the narrative, and I haven't seen anything about that, so I'm curious about just seeing that myself. Atlas puts together the majority of our outlines, if you guys didn't know. Gosh, so many things. Dean Withers cooked by a woman and crashes out over slurs.
Yeah, we might not get into everything.
Yeah, we probably won't get into all of them, but just in case, I'll go ahead and read through them. Ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. Both Trump and Biden are taking credit. That's actually a pretty big one right there. We would like to see, you know, peace be restored in the Middle East. Hopefully Trump can follow up on what he kind of started with the Abraham Accords and stuff like that. Nala, the OnlyFans girl, is not giving the money back she earned via OnlyFans as the Christian debate ensues over that. And then the FDA bans food dye red #3. Finally, probably should have never been allowed. But as far as the Maha movement goes with RFK Jr., that might be something that's going on. It's, relates to him and his work or his incoming situation. But let's start here with the TikTok ban. Excuse me. Earl's daughter said simultaneous sync problems. Sounds like a conspiracy. That's pretty funny. And then Knights of Gideon, you asked if we're using OBS or StreamYard. We're using StreamYard. It is so much simpler than OBS when it comes to the streaming. I did have to buy the $120 annual program so that Atlas can stream to his channels as well. It gives us a lot of other options, but yeah, StreamYard is the way to go if you guys are interested in streaming. It's so much simpler. Let's see here what else we got in chat before we jump into this TikTok thing. Abigail Shepard said, as a mid-20s woman, I'm sad to see TikTok go. Haha. Was that sarcastic with the haha? I don't know. I know my daughter is in her mid-20s and she's probably gonna she's probably not gonna enjoy it if it, she probably wants it to stick around, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Mr. Beast tweeted saying he's gonna buy TikTok. That actually would make more sense that Mr. Beast would buy it than Elon Musk. But I don't know. Does Mr. Beast really have 40, $50 billion? I know the dude is like loaded and just prints money, but wow, that'd be interesting.
Right.
I still wonder if that dude's the potential Antichrist, man. Some of those conspiracies that go around surrounding him, restoring vision to the blind, and some of the stuff that he does is just like,
There's a lot of antichrist figures in nowadays. You throw
right.
Elon in that mixture too. A lot of people that
Mhm.
think Trump as well. There's a lot of people that can fit that bill.
Yeah, yeah. I doubt it's any of them. I don't know. I think the real Antichrist would have to follow the prophecy and be born in Bethlehem or whatever, kind of similar to uh, the Jesus story arc. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm not too familiar with my antichrist knowledge. I know that the believers
I don't look into it that much. But
well,
yeah,
believers in school thought that there's like multiple. It's like not just one. That there's like multiple antichrist figures.
yeah. Well,
Like at the same time.
the the CEO of Louder with Crowder, what's his name? The guy with glasses. I haven't watched their show for a while. Jared?
Oh
Jared? No.
no. Man, I know who you're talking about too. Yeah.
He has a theory that there's always one across the generations. Like it might have been the bad guy in World War II over that time frame essentially, and that the evil one always consistently has one on the planet for when the right time comes. Um, because ultimately the evil one doesn't know when that time is going to be. So I don't know. It's just his theory, but it was interesting when he said it. He broke it down, I think, on one of their live Friday shows where he gets into more like religion and stuff like that. But I might have to go back and check that out.
No. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to add before we go into things. It might make people upset. Um, I have recently been looking into orthodoxy. I know a lot of people. I think the argument still holds that I believe that Reformed Protestantism has the strongest, superior scriptural doctrine. Um, but ultimately, I think one of the arguments that really kind of got my brain to rack was we'll be judged by the fruits. And I think if I was to sit here and look at the fruits of Protestantism, well, that would be like women dominion, women leadership, the loss of patriarchy, the debasement of children. Um, I mean, so many things. But I began to look into Orthodoxy, wanted to explore it a bit too. So I was just thankful my parents got me an Orthodox study Bible for Christmas.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and what I will say, I think one kind of through line that's kind of pretty common, I think, with talking about this subject, is people actually have like such a extremely poor understanding of not even just like what is in Scripture itself, but an even poorer kind of historical context to Scripture as well. So when it comes to like even being able to place like names and dates and times and like order of origins, order of operations rather, um, people just can't do it. And I think that's one of the other kind of issues I have with the church as well. A lot of messages end up being extremely kind of narrow. They kind of just really kind of point to very basic principles. They don't do much to go into depth. So one thing I would encourage most people who are definitely like in Christianity, and or at least believe in their hearts. I would also encourage those people to also enlighten themselves as much as they possibly can. Um, Especially in a time period such as this, having the better understanding, rather a mastery of an understanding, not to say that you should become like a father or a preacher, but reaching that point is ultimately going to be more helpful to combat and battle things. Most importantly, really to actually be able to pick apart and know what's subversive, what's true, what's not. Being able to tell when a preacher is actually like inherently wrong, being a wolf among sheep, as it says. Um, it's one thing that I've dove deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into, only to come to more sadder and darker conclusions about the current situation that we're in. And you kind of look at that knowledge, you gain the actual understanding of it, and then you look upon the current landscape of what is Christianity, and you just have to shake your head because it's so pitiful. It's very depressing, and I think there's a lot of Christians who probably haven't even like read their Bible. Yeah, like exactly what Nine just said. Actually, read the Bible. Um, I think a lot of people just kind of same thing what people would do with politics, is they don't actually look into things for themselves. They don't look at other opinions, differing things. They just hear somebody they like say something, and that becomes their assumed opinion. Like that becomes what they feel and think about it from there on. And so, yeah, I would just encourage a lot more depth of studying, because I think that there's way too many misconceptions that are being had, especially when it does come to a lot of things that affect us currently with politics as such. So ultimately, having that understanding, strengthening yourself, iron sharpens iron. Time, do studies with buddies. Yeah, be around and involved with people who also know their stuff and who are also willing to listen. They care, people who care less about the smoke machines and Jesus is my boyfriend music, but actually like the actual real history in the context of such, and then the people who came afterwards, knowing when, like, the 300-year gap between like the church being founded and the Bible being written, all these different things will help strengthen your holistic understanding of who you are and what you believe and what you're supposed to do as a Christian.
Yeah, and that gives me an idea. Maybe we should start doing like a weekly, maybe even if it's just for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it kind of turns into, but like a weekly, Bible focused study in the Discord. That might be something that we should shop around and see if people are interested in addition to the Christian channel where we've been posting things and just saying, hey, here, look at this. Because I do agree with Titan. He says, do the Bible studies with buddies. Well, as a person for me who hardly ever leaves the house, maybe I could get that done on Discord, and it's definitely something that we all should do. So, I think we should try to work on that. I think we'll probably will at some point soon.
Yeah, I know Chris said something about doing
He mentioned that in the back.
devotions
Yeah.
for men and women's. I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But not to run off on too much of a tangent. We can get into it now.
Right.
We'll apply these ideologies and ideas to the news stories.
Well, I think it would be cool because we do kind of have a broad range of like just the, of Christians, you know what I mean, from their particular focus, and it would be cool to kind of share from those perspectives and learn, what's going on, like with the orthodoxy and what's going on in, a non-denominational or a Church of God, position or whatever, stuff like that,
Right.
Let's see. Reps for Jesus peeps hit the gym too. Yeah. Discord super cool for that. Yeah. So yeah, guys, definitely join the Discord because we're gonna do that. We need to do that. Hopefully, and if people show up, that'll definitely be motivation for folks to for us to continue. You know what I mean? So
yeah, there's a link in my description. I think there's one in Atlas or in Atlas's World's description as well.
Yeah.
It may be expired, so let me know. Even if it's expired, just say something and I'll put a link here in chat for all those who'd be interested.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing. Because if you guys don't know, we're broadcasting to our own channels. We got 2 separate channels. And on that note, make sure you do stop in an Atlas Thugs channel, either as the show's going on or after the show, however you want to do it, and shoot him a sub because he's closing in on that 1,000 mark, and we'd like to get him over that 1,000 subs mark. Which, additionally to that, we have like 3 or 4 other content creators actually in the Discord, all kind of doing their own thing. We got one guy that does music reactions. We have another guy that actually is a he I don't know. I don't want to call him a janitor if the proper term is custodian, but he's a trash guy. He picks up trash. He's the dude that rides on the back of the truck, and he live streams like almost every day, and it's fun to watch. I don't know why, but I've been watching his live stream the last like few days, just in the background, keeping it on. And he's actually growing really fast. He went from like 850 subs over 1,000 like 2 days ago in one stream. Nice. So it's pretty cool seeing him hit that 1,000 mark. It's wild. And if you're interested in creating content, Discord would also be the place to be because we got some good insights and stuff like that as well to help you get started. Let's see. Like to be interested in. LOL Marble said, I'd be interested in Bible studies with you guys only because I come from a Catholicism background and they were never taught the Bible. I went to vacation school, Bible school, and Protestants use the Bible. Yeah, that's pretty much my go-to is the Bible. And I got to admit, I was on a kick probably last summer, where I just started at the beginning on one of the apps, the Bible app or something like that, and I was just listening to it, going back through Genesis. So much happens in Genesis and in Exodus, and there's kind of a monotonous part that I got caught up on when they're talking about how to build, like, the literally how they're supposed to build the Ark of the Covenant and some of these other things that you just got to struggle through. But there's a lot of stuff in there that's like, wait a minute, I thought that was different. You don't realize that, you know, just for instance, one of the things that stood out to me was Moses didn't do a lot of the talking. It was actually his brother-in-law, or was it his brother?
Yeah.
I think it was his brother-in-law, Aaron. And, you know, just things that it's like, man, I should have known that. What am I doing? So I haven't picked it back up for a little while, but I've been telling myself lately that I need to get back into that and try to maybe read the whole Bible or listen to it this year, since it's January and it's New Year's resolution time, right?
Right.
The Discord link was expired, Titan. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sending one right now.
We'll both put it in chat. Some people can't see your chat and some people can't see mine, so make sure you click on the no limit.
Oh,
Never
yeah, I probably should do
expires.
that.
Copy that. Okay, and we will. There it is in the chat. And you know, I'm gonna go ahead and edit it in the. Forgive me. I know this is super entertaining for you guys, but I want to make sure this is right. I'm editing it in the actual description of the video as well.
I always keep the 7 days because I'm concerned if a bunch of liberals catch my video like they occasionally do, they'll like flood into the Discord. So that's why I'm only using the 7-day links.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so that's updated on my description as well. Let's see. What's up,
everybody,
TNC?
for being in here. I know we're taking a minute to get started.
Yeah. We'll jump into it now here. Let me set that up properly. I get excited about setting up the show, and then I always forget this one step of screen sharing. The 3 screens, I got to make sure I click the right one. It's almost necessary when it comes to these streams. You got to have one to look at, one to monitor the stream itself, and one for your outline. I showed all the people in Discord in the chat the other day. We're all live, just BS, and I showed everybody how my setup looks like and stuff from the first person perspective, from my perspective. But we got this one here. Breaking: TikTok is preparing for shutdown of operations in the U.S. this Sunday. And I'll admit, for me, I actually initially, because this has been kind of rumored for a couple years, seems like maybe a full year, maybe even longer, right? I don't even know.
Yeah,
it's time
longer.
flying. But I was initially like, yeah, shut it down. It's Chinese propaganda. They're not using it properly in the United States, or at least the same way as they're using it in their own country. And you know what? Giving these Chinese companies access to your phone, all the information in it, your location, your camera, your mic, it's just like, you know, they're too openly willing to express. They've openly expressed, you know, they want to run the world by 2030 or something like that. And so this would be definitely a tool that they would use. And I was just like, yeah, there's plenty of other platforms to get your news, and we don't need TikTok. But ever since then, I've kind of grown to accept it a little bit more, at least. Still not my favorite, but it is a way that I can stay connected with my daughter, because she likes to post videos of herself singing and stuff on TikTok.
That's funny. No, I guess, you know, there's a lot of different thoughts with this, right? So we have TikTok being banned. Obviously, you alluded to the fact of it being floated for probably multiple years now at this point. I'm not one to believe them and take them at their word for the why they believe it to be banned, or why they want it to be banned rather. I think there's a bit more nefarious reasons than that. I think ultimately, one thing I would even point to too is during COVID, TikTok was actually one of like the primary sources people had that was able to at least get things through, as long as you kind of, used code words similar to how we have to here on the channel here,
Yeah.
to be able to get different points around.
They could kind of
Um,
say, I've seen some of them, just to your point, where they would like basically say whatever they wanted to, and then they would at the very end say, by the way, this is all for entertainment purposes only.
yeah,
Just give like the one thing, but they were able to just basically blanket cover their butt by just saying that, which was something I wish I could just do. But
yeah, well, especially when it related to things like Dr. Peter McCauley, Dr. Drew, a few other people who were pretty vocal early on, whether it pertained to like things like ivermectin and such. But ultimately, the guys and the appearance of why they're banning it is because they view it to be like a Chinese controlled app. That's the argument, is that it sells data over.
mhm.
Um, you even said it operates two different ways. Like in China, there's a completely different app. I forget what it's called. Um,
um,
but the algorithm for the one in China is like it promotes things like science, engineering, mathematics, kind of
is it
STEM field
WeChat?
stuff. Yeah, or something. I don't know. It's like owned by ByteDance, I believe, but I'm not sure what the actual name of the company or
Okay.
the app is. And here, obviously, it promotes like Swifty feminism, liberal behavior, brain rot, for lack of better terms. Ultimately, though, what's happening though, and the reason for my thumbnail is most of these people are actually flocking to another app that's controlled by China, one that's actually a bit more explicit in its control, and a bit more harsher in its rule set. It's called Red Note. It's that very top one you'll see in the image there that World has on screen. That Zizhu Cheng or whatever, I think is what it's called. And there's some news with this, obviously, with the fact that this app does not play games with the pro community. It actually actively bans LGBTQ content. Anything that results around transgenderism, homosexuality, it just gets nuked off the app. Like the app is just like, we don't allow that here. In China, homosexual marriage is banned. And there's actually a funny viral video that came out about this from a user that's making the rounds as well too, because he gave a message to the LGBTQ community. Um, Overall, and I think we'll get to it here in a little bit, which is I believe there to be more different reasons for why the app is now being threatened. But we did get news almost about 30 minutes before we went live that Trump is considering putting an injunction in place, or an executive order, to at least suspend the impending ban for at least 2 months. So right now it would be scheduled in a few days. On Sunday, the app would be banned. So for installed users, if you were to click on your app, it would actually redirect you to a website that would explain why it's being banned. So if Trump puts an executive order in place, I believe that will last for like a day. So I think the 20th is actually going to be in what, 40, so it'd be like on the 19th. So it'll be banned for like maybe a day. So that goes through. It'll be like a ban for a day, 48 hours even. Then it'll come back on. One thing I would like to say though too, and a lot of people are kind of alluding to this as well. If this is the grounds, right? For the Chinese infiltration, and we view it to be a weapon that kind of dumbs down our population. It gives people brain rot and kind of degenerate things to look at. I think that then OnlyFans should be banned. I think that then you have the same argument there.
Mm.
OnlyFans is clearly a creation that's meant to just, for one, it what's the right word? It preys upon, is a predator towards lonely men, desperate men, simps rather. May not do it willingly. I'm not saying they're being victimized, but it just takes advantage of their lowly, desolate selves, who are very, very desperate. And I think you could ban that too. I think in the same frame, you could also ban a lot of different porn websites, basically for the same reasons, right? It subverts the population, it
Mhm.
degenerates these people, it makes them, for one, it's immoral and sinful if we're looking at it from a Christian framework. But secondly, it ultimately damages family values and family life. A lot of issues that I think a lot of men face, especially in their own marriages too, is the easy access of porn and porn usage. I think that causes issues in the bedroom. I think that causes, more so it causes just intimacy issues, which I think then ultimately leads to down the road issues, being able to kind of creates a gap between you and your wife. Ultimately, like not needing her to release kind of like sexual pressures, for lack of better words, too. But in the long run, it kind of separates you and your wife. It is kind of a barrier to keep you from one another. Um, but there's crazy things going on, and this one here too is the second one here. So there's like a clearly a different judge rule set. So this from AF Post, it says the Chinese users on Red Note inform that the TikTok refugees, they may say Heil Hitler and N-words on the platform. But obviously you can't talk about LGBTQ. So it's clearly an entirely different rule set. Something I don't think a lot of people on TikTok are prepared for. Ultimately, I think they should be banned, but be banned for the right reasons, and not for, the appearances as such. And this is the viral video here of the guy talking about, how they feel in China. We'll let him speak for himself.
Okay. Let me adjust the volume.
Any political rights out here. We hate the shit. There's only two gender out here, male and female. If you are gay, just be gay. Don't talk about you're gay. We all know you're gay. Just don't talk about it. If you're a lesbian, you cool. You cool. If you're LGBTQ, whatever, keep that shit to yourself.
Why is that? Sorry, I'm laughing, so I had to pause it. If you're a lesbian, you're cool. Typical guy.
There's no gay marriage out here. That's against the law. So keep that shit to yourself. Don't swing that shit to someone else's daughter or son. All right? Any political right.
Yeah, but you say that on TikTok, your video probably gets taken down under the guise of hate speech.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was I'm not gonna even attempt his name, but it says TikTok users are furious with this Chinese man who made a video telling American TikTokers that are coming to their app to not talk about their sexuality or gender content. So apparently he's not being appreciated for that.
No, because that's the modern church here in America. Most Americans who even it's captured the conservative movement worship at the altar of race and homosexuality, and feminism too. You could throw that in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a harsh contrast to what we're used to. And I thought this was a great point too from this random account. I don't know who it is. Just saw the tweet. TikTok sells their data to China. Their children made my phone. I think that's the least we can do for them. It's just kind of funny. There's a lot of different takes here and there as well. But ultimately, it seems the moral stance we'll take will be on the more so censorship aspect of it. Ultimately, though, not to bury the lead on what I think, but I think a lot of people can easily point out the fact that TikTok ran rampant for a long period of time. It was only until there was questions regarding things that were happening in the Middle East that this began to become a problem, and it actually reached the high levels of needing to be banned. Now, Elon also said he would buy it. Mr. Beast said he would buy it. So there's a good chance that in some form that the U.S. operations of TikTok can remain here. But I also echo the sentiment of King Shaman Lee, which is we should ban OnlyFans first before we ban TikTok. And I agree. I think OnlyFans is a much more explicitly damaging product than what is on TikTok. TikTok's definitely damaging, especially for kids as well. But OnlyFans damages everybody, kids, adults included.
Right. What I believe I assume you probably have to have some kind of identification proof of your age when it comes to OnlyFans, but you don't for TikTok. I don't know. I've only signed up for TikTok, so I can't really tell you from experience, but
well, I'm glad.
Yeah. Anyways, it's one of those things where it's like I went through it just like a couple months ago when I got my TikTok account. I don't think I had to do like any type of like identity verification, but that means that it's more rampant and accessible to the children, which is my point, which allows them to be influenced. TNT, you're dealing with heartburn tonight. That sucks, dude. I've been dealing with it. I deal with it most of my life, but I've been dealing with it lately as well. Thankfully, today's not a bad day. I can't avoid spicy foods either. They're my favorite. But we see here, right here, this guy made a point. We should ban OnlyFans first before we ban TikTok. Crazy, I know. It seems like a simple, point to understand, but maybe not for our government leaders. I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, so Matt Kim, people are probably familiar with him. Maybe if you saw him on my channel, he runs a podcast in his show, and so forgive me, I'm not sure what the name of it is, but he is a pretty prominent person now. Or I guess maybe not pretty prominent, but he's gaining prominence, and I'm not too familiar with him. But I did see he was the one who got attacked a lot because he had on a fellow Asian business guy, and this guy explained something that had been bothering him a great degree. And that was the usury laws that applied to a specific group of people here in the States, and the ability for you to get 0% interest, depending on, where you come from and who you are, them boys. And so Matt Kim also was highlighting the fact from this thread here as well, in regards to what's being obfuscated of why, TikTok is a national security threat. And I'm not saying that they don't scrape data and do different data selling points as well. They definitely do. But there's a lot more players at work here in this game that's surrounding TikTok. TikTok's been doing the data scraping since its inception. It's been around for those reasons for quite some time. And it really seemed to, I think, a lot of people that the only moves began to actually become meaningful around its actual banning coincide with a different set of facts than what's being presented by many people, especially those in Congress. Now, people can think, whatever they want, but I think there are some data that's clear. And this thread kind of points some things out about that too.
Right. And it starts with this one where this guy pointed, they tell us that TikTok is a national security threat and its algorithm is bankrupting, is brainwashing America. Maybe it's bankrupting. I don't know. Where all the money's going to the OnlyFans chicks. Just like Liquefier said, TikTok is the gateway to OnlyFans, which is an excellent point. Some of these people are using platforms like Twitch and Kick and TikTok to filter people into their OnlyFans account. But he says a close examination of the evidence exposes some very familiar and very suspicious players. Spoiler, it's not really about China. TikTok, facing an impending ban on January 19th, is fighting for its life right now in the Supreme Court. Congress asserted the app's Chinese-controlled algorithm is pushing dangerous ideas on Americans, and the app is a major national security threat. Number 3, let's talk about the evidence that the Department of Justice has provided. Oh, wait, we can't because all the evidence has been redacted. And you see this video on the right where everything is literally blacked out. It must be top secret.
It looks like the Epstein files when they first released them.
Right. Holy crap. Number 4, the government has also asserted TikTok is indoctrination at scale. They cite a supposed peer-reviewed study that claims TikTok is actively manipulating perceptions of China and the Chinese Communist Party through algorithmic bias. Let's examine that study. I'll just tell you from my personal experience, I always get like prank phone calls from radio stations where they're like, be an angry girlfriend or angry girl that got like didn't get the second date or the call back after the date, and they want to confront like the guy or whatever, and then funny story ensues. Or I have a friend on there that's a lifelong tiler, installs tiles, and he sells like rubies, and that's a thing you use to cut tile. Different new gadgets to help tile installers do their stuff, and so he makes a little side money from that, I assume. It's I kind of think it's part of like the algorithm. What they're saying is I see a lot of hunting videos on there as well, so I don't really I don't know, maybe I just haven't gotten into the Chinese propaganda part of the algorithm. I don't use it that much, to be honest with you. But
well, to even make a point before we continue on with the algorithm such, you've probably ran into this too, where you'll see a post that's in your feed from someone you don't follow, and there'll be an account that's like, oh no, like I can't believe that this woman sent this thing. And the moment you click on it, every single one of the top comments, if you scroll anything past that original post, is OnlyFans advertisement.
Mm.
It'll be like videos, pictures. It'll be like, I mean, it's just flooded with OnlyFans accounts. And it's a way that they kind of promote their OF content through X. So this stuff exists everywhere. So that kind of just like the guys that there's an indoctrination. Um, it kind of falls flat when you realize there is literally it's happening on all platforms. YouTube's it even happens on YouTube. Kind of like the girls will do everything in their power to like skate by the rules. Twitch had a very bad issue with this,
Mhm.
where girls were like, I mean, there was one girl who put a green screen on her booty shorts, and she was playing the game, but she was standing, so all you could see was her rear end. But because her pants were green, the game was being played on her pants, and so there were like all these different ways that they were kind of getting around the rules to kind of
Hmm.
promote the slut and sexuality. Um, it's I guess like the only thing that would actually make more sense here would be the pro CCP argument. That maybe I'm not on TikTok enough, but I really have never seen went on any video that like some guy was like, and here's why the CCP is actually not that bad. I've never never seen a video that was as such. The brain rot stuff though, I definitely agree with, right? Like that falls under like the Coco Melon things where it's like 4 seconds of like a sink being turned on, then all of a sudden a cheese ball is being thrown down a hill, and then like a bright pink jar explodes liquid. Like that stuff is gonna rot your brain. It's like
Yeah.
really quick flashes of dopamine. So I agree
Right.
with that too. But that stuff
Yeah.
exists everywhere.
Yeah, that's Instagram shorts, that's YouTube shorts. 1 minute videos are brain rot, essentially. It destroys our capacity to focus for long periods of time. If nothing else, you know what I mean? That's the worst thing. Titan says I do tile, LOL. That's pretty cool. I did tile for a long time. I kind of got out of the tile part, started laying carpet, doing hardwood floors, vinyl and stuff like that. So I'm a flooring dude by trade. Originally, was my first main thing I learned coming out of high school. Let's see here.
Right.
Abigail Shimmer, TikTok. Yeah, most of my TikTok is for you page is pro Trumpers and conservatives. Yeah, and I had some friends that kept telling me when I first started the channel, I was like, you really need to have a TikTok. It's not as left leaning crazy as you probably think it is. I get a lot of good information off of there that you could probably use, and I was just resistant to the whole idea. But finally, I submitted. But like I said, I don't check it out very often.
Yeah, well,
But
the
yes,
onions highlighting, me, I used to put early clips of the offensively accurate on TikTok. I eventually just quit using TikTok because my account would get suspended every like 2 days.
right.
Posts would get deleted. I think I got to the point of what's the right word? I would be threatened, every time
Funny.
occasionally every post would be like, that's fine. Occasionally, if every few posts, it would be like, we're going to ban your account if we find it this. And I would constantly have to put in appeals and be like, this is why I actually didn't break the rules. Sometimes they would get reinstated, sometimes it wouldn't. It just became an absolute hassle. So I think there is a definite degree of like censorship, right? They definitely kind of ensure that the brain rot exists, and anything that goes too far outside of bounds or doesn't do enough self-censoring will be immediately like nuked off the platform. But one thing that makes me realize I don't believe a lot of it to be the case, though, too, is the fact of Ian Carroll's existence. And I think he's somebody who did a really good job at navigating that by ensuring he never said any of like the banned words. So he ended up gaining such a large following, and then he transferred that over here to X, and now he's over 1 million followers here now on X.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and specifically with the COVID stuff too, you would think that they would have done a better job, especially if it was all the the China virus type stuff as well. You would expect that it wouldn't have been such a go-to, during the Twitter 1.0 sphere in Facebook. It'd be like, where else could you even post anything about COVID outside of TikTok? That was really the only place you could go to find stuff about that.
Right.
Regarding like all the shutdowns, the mandates, the jabs, everything that revolved around that sphere.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that, to be honest with you. I was pretty much during COVID just following the Trump actual, like, he was going on camera 2 hours a night, it seemed like, to give updates. And then there was a few people that were allowed to speak on it on YouTube, and I was watching them as well. Tim Pool is one of them. Earl's daughter mentions instead of banning everything, We must raise our children to honor God and the temple, our bodies, in which the Holy Spirit dwells. Sin will always be a temptation. Resist the devil and he will flee. Yeah. And the best way to resist the devil is to call on the name Jesus.
Yeah, well, that's why I think ultimately the best choice would be to um, make the U.S. operations of TikTok be forced out of, Chinese hands,
Yeah.
especially since it's an entirely different wing,
Yeah.
and give it to someone here in the U.S. and then don't censor it. Like actually honor the First Amendment. And this will use an old conservative argument because I don't think conservatives carry it anymore, which is free speech should be allowed. Period. Um, because obviously the understanding there is in a free marketplace of ideas, the best ideas will win.
Right.
Now there are different levels to this when it comes to the digital blueprint, because if there's someone's thumb on the scale and you can't tell, well, then it's really not a free marketplace of ideas.
Right.
So
And if they just follow the laws, like, oh, go ahead.
no, you're fine. I was just going to add, um, I think we're seeing a lot of right wingers supporting censorship when it comes to like with X and the demonetization, following the steps of like the early 2016 adpocalypse from YouTube, and then here we are with TikTok now. Because ultimately, my stance would be, no, this shouldn't be banned at all. People should be allowed to say whatever they want, even if some American here was the most pro CCP person of all. I don't agree. But if those ideas are truly bad and they're easily defeatable and easily proven to be bad ideas, we'll let him
Right.
talk so we know what he said, and then you oppose them with the better idea. Ultimately, like if that doesn't work, well, then in you having to use censorship, it must mean that the establishment or powers that be must view some idea that's being spread on that platform that's too strong for them to compete with, and it undermines them. So ultimately, it's like the Streisand effect as well. Like all that ever occurs when you ban stuff and censor it out is people will do the most legwork possible to see what that idea was that was banned. That is what the Streisand effect is. So the longer that you try to hide things and prevent the public from doing them, the more they will go to downloading, Red Note or something, some random other app to go and find what was not allowed on the previous platform.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the whole reason why Rumble is an existing platform, is because anyone who gets taken off of everything else exists on Rumble. And people use Rumble not because they want to use it for the YouTube uses. They go to Rumble to go see the people who are banned from the other places.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I've been reading through some of these comments. Some lot of good points made by Donnie there, and Liquefier as well. But
Yeah.
I want to say to your point about, just make it free speech. I was going to add, and then just follow the laws. Like you can't post pornography on, public forums that people under 18 can see. You know what I mean? And that's just a law. So, and then the whole Section 230 argument that weighs in here, if you're a publisher and what are you responsible for, and all that whole thing. I think that probably could be revisited and clarified in order to, free these platforms, X, Facebook, that type of stuff from their liability if somebody posts on their thing. But the problem with that is, from their perspective, is they do turn into publishers when they start banning, when they start shadow banning, when they start taking away verification. That, in my opinion, is essentially becoming a publisher, because then you are dictating, controlling what the people see, and what is wrong think, what is wrong speak, all that type of stuff. So it's they got to follow the laws and the guidelines as well for them to maintain not liable. But if somebody just simply following the laws, if somebody threatens somebody else, if they even they dox somebody, it should be investigated. That's whenever you take away somebody's account, that's when the posts get taken down. And depending on the level of where it goes, maybe charges be pressed. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it's really that hard to just let free speech be free speech, and the good ideas rise at the top and the bad ideas be shunned. Because ultimately, when you do start canceling people for just simply wrong think and having a different opinion, that's when they retreat into the echo chamber, right? And that's when you get these ugly ass 45-year-old dudes, 60-year-old dudes, retreating into their freaking dressing like women, retreating into their, their echo chambers, and everybody in the echo chamber is telling them that they're beautiful. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
Yeah.
that's super unhealthy. You want to talk about the mental health of the LGBT, or not the LGBT, but of the trans community. Well, don't force them into those type of scenarios that whenever they walk around in public and somebody calls them a guy, you don't get more videos of dudes saying it's ma'am. You know what I mean? If you guys, I'm sure you guys know that
The
video by
GameStop
now. If you
video.
haven't, you should definitely look for it. But that person is just deranged, and it's because they've been told they were pretty in their echo chamber so many times that they're a woman, and so many times that they literally are brainwashed into believing falsehoods.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing that kind of really that stuck with me for a while, and this is on X too. There are specific Bible verses that if you post them in their pure form,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
your visibility will get limited.
That's crazy.
It will be marked as I forget what the X actually says in terms of their terms of use, but it will get suppressed.
Dang.
You'll have to actually click on it or go and find it for yourself. Um, so when it comes to that, understand that it's already being used against Christians. The censorship is actually already in effect. We have lost the plot so badly that you can't even. There's specific Bible verses you can't even type in. Now, this actually goes along with what Liquefier said in here, where if you wish to know who rules over you, look to those you can't criticize. Well, specifically, one of the verses that I'm thinking of, Revelation 2:9, or it might be 3:9, could be wrong, criticizes somebody in a specific way, and they are literally the words of Jesus Christ. You will get suppressed if you post that on X. Now, I'm not sure how it is on other platforms because I'm
Crazy.
just someone who uses X a lot. But ultimately, that's where I think that we have to draw the line. It has gotten so bad and so out of control that I think it threatens the very fabric that makes the foundation of this country, which is largely, not even largely, 99% Protestant Christian. And I think ultimately, the longer that we kind of don't recognize it for what it is, this problem will overtake us to the point where there's no coming back from. And I thank for the correction. Donnie put Revelations 3:9. There are a few other ones in there as well. Now, this also falls along the guise of HR 6090. This is something that Christy Nome was pushed for as well, quite a bit, which is outright banning certain portions of Christianity scripture because it's deemed to be, against Ben Shapiro's favorite country. And that's just the reality of it. And, I think this actually goes back to what I said even before we began this on a more specific sense, which is this is why it's important to read your Bible. It's why it's important to understand the actual history with Christianity in the context of which it means. Otherwise, you will fall into misconceptions that you will be drug out on because you never thought to look for yourself. And I think that's why you have to be critical of everybody who you hear from. Even myself, I could be wrong on things. I am wrong pretty often too. Well, I wouldn't say pretty often. I'm too cocky to say otherwise.
Whatever.
Yeah, right. But ultimately, it's like you have to be critical. You have to think for yourself. Anybody who you think you even align with 95% of the time, you have to still do your due diligence to be like, okay, what they're saying was right. Because at specific points, you never really know when somebody can become compromised or when they were actually bought out and sentiments that they begin to say are actually no longer theirs. They're actually the bought and paid for opinions by somebody who saw them as a useful tool to get ideas across. And that's why I think you look at, I know you look at it from that perspective too, it becomes a lot easier to understand, oh, this is why they're banning TikTok and not OnlyFans. Oh, this is why, Pornhub is immediately pulling out of states where they asked for 18 plus identification. A lot of these things become much more clearly when you do view it from a Christian lens. And I think ultimately you have to have a Christian lens for these things to improve and get better.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the conservative movement is a failure.
You have to have the Christian lens to recognize the evil. That's for sure. I think a lot of people, I think everybody can see good and recognize good, but not everybody understands what evil really is. And you got to have that Christian lens to really understand that. And to your last point there, TNT made a point earlier in the show in comments. I think it was TNT that they make a lot of tax money off these OnlyFans girls. You know what I mean? And so they're going to be less inclined to shut that down than they would just simply for that reason. They're all money hungry freaking jerks. And I thought that was an excellent point to bring up. What's up, Jay?
Right.
Nice to see you this evening. Hope everything's going good. Appreciate the advice in the Discord earlier about trying to help keep my dogs and chickens in the fence.
Well, the think about it from even a very narrow lens too. Why would the establishment that does everything in our power to trample over us, steal money from us, destroy the country from the inside out, want to do something that would quite possibly have a consequence of making men stronger? It's just not going to happen. This government does things 6 weeks from Sunday to ensure that the men are not only weak, but they're pathetic, they're retarded, and they're not even Christian. So,
Right.
it's not even a hard conclusion to be like, oh, of course they don't want anything like that. The specifics almost don't even matter. It's more so just recognizing that there is a force that governs over you that hates you, and it will require an exuberant amount of good men not doing nothing before that will begin to change. And that's why, for me, it continues to constantly be a slap in the face when we go after these very nitpicky things, when there are clearer evils staring us in the eyes and we choose to ignore them. And I think that goes along hand in hand with like the pornography aspect and just how extremely damaging it is. I mean, we're even in as basic as things from Hollywood. Hollywood went from like, a sex scene being just like, they would kiss and it's like, oh, it's the next morning after. And they did things to kind of like allude to it. Nowadays, it's like, here's a full 18 plus, like as nude as we can possibly get without, having to have, ID verification at movie theaters, porn level scenes in movies now. So all of these things, like it adds up.
Which is just a waste of content. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of people get uncomfortable, watching those scenes. I think most people, well, I think most, honest and respectful people get comfortable watching those scenes. I
Right.
think that there's just a deep rooted bedrock of degeneracy. And it's going to take a lot of good men deciding that they don't want to play games anymore before that begins to change.
Yeah. Well, it's just like if you're watching a TV series and they include 4 minutes of a sex scene or something like that, it's just like I would much rather have gotten 4 minutes of content than just watching this or whatever. You know what I mean? Not only does it make you feel uncomfortable if you're sitting there with your significant other, in most cases, it just a waste of time. It's a waste of good content. And frankly, I mean, if somebody wants to see that, it's 2 clicks away on their phone. You know what I mean? Nowadays,
Right.
I feel like they used to incorporate a lot of that stuff into movies and TV shows. But they didn't really make TV shows as much back then, at least like we do now, as far as like the series is on Netflix and stuff where you have access to that. But um, frankly, for people that are too young to access it any other way. You know what I mean? Like for me,
Right.
I remember my friends and I don't know how old we were, but there's a scene in Boys in the Hood where it shows a boob for like 2 seconds. And I remember staying the night at my friend's house, pausing it on the boob. Like we didn't do nothing other than laugh, but we were just looking at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I look back on it, it's just so funny. But it's just like, nowadays there's just no use for it. It's just a degeneracy.
But and I think that's a good
There
point
wasn't.
though, even that you raised, even that from that time in that era would be like you'd have to like at least have to do some work, right? You'd have to like do some work to like see what
Right.
little was actually being put out in the mainstream media. And nowadays it literally is a click away. I think ultimately one of the best arguments that we can go with, that should be gone with, is that this is digital cuckoldry. Like when you watch
Yeah.
porn, like you might as well be sitting in a chair while your wife is being slept with. That's exactly what porn is. It's just being done from a different lens. Like ultimately, when you think about it, is like you are watching material meant for you to reach conclusion while you watch another man with a woman that you fancy. I mean, there's really there's like no other way about it. And I think that's ultimately the lens. I mean, it has to be done through in a campaign of shaming, of being like, men need to stop doing this. Like, there is no dignity, there is no righteousness in these actions. And if you damage yourself, your future self, your children, and your wife, I mean, also it's like if you're married and you're doing that, I mean, like, it's just like, how could you do that to your family? Right? It's like it's got to be done through a way of like shaming people to the degree of like how it needs to be, how it should be. Now, obviously, people fall short, and it's not to be like, you need a rope around your neck if you fall into temptation. But right now, we don't have those parameters. We don't have the parameters of, defending against that. Rather, we've kind of reached this point, and I think ultimately, you get these arguments from like, well, this is why men are flocking to Andrew Tate and all this other sort, where you get people who go, well, I understand why most men watch porn, because look at how their wives act. And so there's so many things that go around it too. But ultimately, if men themselves can't shore themselves up first, I think that we can't go anywhere. Now, I'm the first person to say, yeah, like there's a bunch of feminism out there, and like a lot of women just suck. A lot of women are like, but ultimately, if men can right the ship for themselves and course correct for themselves and be a stronger unit moving forward, ultimately that will require the actual kind of, the submission of the women. Because if these women truly want to be with men who are holding themselves to higher standards and being better men, well, they're going to have to get with the program. And, and that's why I think that you have all these kind of crazy arguments, and I can see them. I think objectively on their faces, it's a lot of it's true. You'll see situations with like sexless marriages. And so it becomes hard to kind of not hard to fault, but it becomes understandable why certain married men reach out to porn, because like their wives won't have sex with them, or they seek out 1,000,010 excuses to not be with them, or not to even at least be sexually active with them in specific ways. And so we've kind of moved away from the biblical understanding of like, we are one. Like, my wife's body is my domain, and my wife's domain is my body. We've moved away from these things to where if like a man demands to have sex with his wife, I mean, for one, if you even reach that point, I mean, I am sorry for you. I think that's a much greater tale of like what's going on between your marriage, and ultimately there's a lot more problems there. But most men just like, if you get to that point of like, well, you got to tell your wife to have sexual intercourse with you, it's like you've already lost the battle. But also it's like, then why are there all these support beams for women who go, yeah, I'm not having sex with my wife? And so it again, a lot of this goes down to feminism and everything that's downstream from that too. But there's so many problems on this too, and that's also one of the reasons why I have the Spaces on X to kind of talk about this and everything that's involved with it too.
Yeah.
But to go back to porn, I think there's probably even situations where men have good relationship with their wives and they don't experience those problems, but ultimately can't put the phone down at night. And then that probably leads to like their wife wanting to be with them, but they're like not in the mood. And they don't realize like ultimately the reason like you're not in the mood is because like what Liquefier has said is like your brain has been rewired to the fact that you're only sexually attracted to a blue light screen, and watching another man penetrate someone else that you're not with. And so I think that there's got to be we have to carry these torches deep as we can, to get these things uprooted and out of society.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. Titan says, dude, leaving behind porn and all that comes with it easily right under finding Jesus Christ and the best things that happened to me category. So,
yeah no,
definitely.
100%. And
it's a humiliation ritual he followed it up with.
Yeah, I'll be brutally honest. A few years ago, I, probably like many others, probably people who are in this chat right now who are watching this video and may watch this video, struggled with it as well. There are resources to you. Obviously, I think being in the Bible is one of them. I think recognizing the sin for what it is another one. Recognizing how it's damaging you is a third. But ultimately, Titan's right. Once you put down that porn. I mean, the ability to say no to a woman is like, for one of the strongest things a man can ever do. Imagine being the man who, like, a woman approaches you when you're married and she wants to have relations with you, and you go, "No, I'm married. I'm a Christian man." That power, like, it almost non-existent for one anymore. Like, most men won't turn it down based on how destroyed most of their marriages are, that they'll take that advantage because it might be the only time they'll have a sexual relation in like 8 months. But the power that's in that knows, I'm not going to do that. I'm better than that. I know what lies on the other side of that. And I know what the right thing to do is that. And I know there's greater joy in the fact that I'm not doing that and maintaining the unity and relationship I have with my wife over these things. And even if you're not married, even if it's your girlfriend, the same thing stands there too. And people will point to, like, what are the arguments, like with sperm retention and stuff like that. Ultimately, though, I think that there are physical signs as well. Same thing like Titan's saying there too. I think you will see literal physical signs that come with that when you're not constantly giving out your soul and your vulnerabilities to just open things on the internet.
Mhm.
And I would encourage everybody, everybody to take that step.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get back to this. It's definitely a good conversation. We'll get more into that in the spaces as well, for sure. The spaces event on Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday 6:30.
Friday at 6:30 Eastern time. So
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
definitely come back for that. It'll be a little bit different. But right here, Mr. Beast announces that after meeting with several billionaires, he officially made an offer to buy TikTok before it gets banned. I didn't know he officially made an offer, but let's hear this real quick, and then I want to actually we'll move on to. Well, we'll check out another viral TikTok on TikTok, and then we're gonna move over to Pete Hegseth and Pam Bondi. We'll switch gears quite a bit with that one, but let's
Yes,
finish
sir.
this one up.
I just got out of a meeting with a bunch of billionaires. TikTok, we mean business. This is my lawyer right here. We have an offer ready for you. We want to buy the platform. America deserves TikTok. Give me a seat at the table. Let me save this platform, TikTok. I just
Interesting, man. His lawyer looks like he's 15. Holy crap! No shade, but just saying it's a young dude.
In the background, you can see like an old Microsoft PowerPoint. I don't know if you can go to a different frame, but it'll say how we buy TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How we buy TikTok. I see it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's funny. So let's check out this other one here real quick. The viral TikTok on banning TikTok. And I haven't seen this. Everything always got to automatically play.
I know.
All right, here we go. I'm starting out full volume. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't want to blast your eardrums out.
Probably full screen it too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that one. Tix Bomber. What's up, Tix Bomber? Good to see you. Put you on screen.
Yeah, what's
so
going on, Tix?
Everybody can see.
Fascist countries ban apps. Fascist countries ban websites. Fascist countries ban apps and websites under the guise of threats to national security, when every other country knows it's about suppressing the free speech of its citizens. If the government believes that a single app could, quote from the hearing on the 10th, skew the perspective of American citizens to be anti-American, maybe the real problem is that American citizens are already in such a state of political unrest and unhappiness that our government is scared a single foreign influence could tip the scale and have it all be over. Don't you think that by taking away the, and I quote, key communications channel of Americans, it's going to make those 170 million Americans a little more anti-American? Maybe Congress knows and understands that. Maybe the government knows that the backlash it will receive from banning TikTok does not outweigh the threats that come with its existence. not in a matter of national security, but in a matter of being the most popular news and media outlet that the government cannot control, like American-owned broadcasting networks and publications. Maybe if this was actually a national security concern, the government would be banning all Chinese-developed apps like Shein and Temu that collect the exact same amount of data as TikTok. Because maybe it knows TikTok is something special. You can't politically organize on Temu. If TikTok goes dark, the government deliberately and knowingly took away your free speech. Do not accept national security for an answer, ever.
Interesting. I see a lot of you guys in the comments. Titan, another cat lady. Liquefier says bad faith argument. I can smell her through the screen. And then TNT on the other side says put your boobs away if you want me to take you serious. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I think that you know, I think that she definitely is more like a
Manner too.
the liberal cat lady. So I probably disagree with her on everything, and she'd probably call me a fascist for half of what I say about Christian nationalism. But ultimately, though, I do agree with the fact of the argument of the censorship aspect. I don't like that we have moved to a position where a lot of Americans can be easily swayed into censoring things, into censoring entire apps. I'm someone who is a free speech absolutist. And I think that she's right on the aspect of TikTok being if not probably the major commutative wing. I mean, you know, as good as X is, a lot of X's content is people just reposting TikToks and moving them over to X. A lot of news outlets will put on TikToks because
Or
someone
Instagram.
made a point. Yeah, or Instagram, because a point came across that's now going viral because a lot of people are engaging with that. That's on TikTok. You know, and I also talk about the COVID stuff as well. You know, and to say, you know, because it's China controlled, you know, to act as if these degenerative ideas, right? Like all these liberal ideas are coming from China. It's like that's such a joke. There's like America has become liberal. Like we have adopted liberalism. You know, we've essentially have taken on this entire idea of abandoning Christianity for the sake of pure liberty. To act as if the source of all these ideas, or if banning TikTok will stop the kind of like subverted Marxism that's here in this country, is also laughable. I just find it to just be a poor argument on its face. She brings up a good point with the national security risk as well. There are many, not even just, you know, Chinese controlled apps, but also like stores and different transactionary stuff where you're going to get your data taken from them as well. I mean, I'll be honest with you too. Like, I have a problem when the American government does it to me. So to just get mad when China does it is like, I could care less. You guys are doing it to me. Facebook does it to everybody. Facebook makes shadow profiles of people who've never even been on the platform because they do all this in an attempt to aggregate as much data as they have. And ultimately, I fear that the American government would do something to me before China would send some, like they're going to, like I'm going to have a CCP red flag wearing guy break into my window.
Right.
Like, no, dude, Ruby Ridge was done by America.
So
when I look at these things as a whole matrix, it's like I probably disagree with the entirety of like what her actual ideology is on the set. But when it comes to free speech absolutism, I agree with her entirely, just for a different set of reasons. I agree with her with the fact of like this should not be getting banned at all. Like censorship's got to stop. It's becoming one of the biggest problems, period. This is why I think you see a lot of people who actually point to the fact that we need a digital constitution. Like we need a kind of a rebranding or a reinsertion of a constitution that extends itself to digital rights as well, because so many things seemingly are different. You know, you'll get arguments even where, well, you can go out and, you know, you can go out outside and yell, you know, you can yell whatever you want, but you can't do that to, you know, on a public platform. When ultimately everyone has the understanding that YouTube, TikTok, X, Instagram, all of these places have replaced the public square. Now that's where people go to congregate and assemble when it comes to politically organizing. And you know, overall, I find it to just be in bad taste to censor it out.
Yeah. Titan asked, can we have hope that Mark's base now, though? Mark Zuckerberg. You know, I'm open to having the conversation and welcoming him into the the not left, you know, subservient community. But at the same time, he seems to be kind of sinking down in my chair. He seems to be trying to copy Elon Musk's format with the new community notes and firing the fact checkers essentially, and some of the stuff that he's doing with Meta or Facebook. But you got to remember that Elon Musk did spend $40 billion. He put his money where his mouth is, and he didn't follow that up by going on like Rogan's podcast. Yes, he's been on Rogan's podcast, but I think that was before he acquired X. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't follow Joe, or I follow him, but I don't really like watch every show or anything like that. But you know, Zuckerberg, he's quick to go on Joe Rogan and all but apologize, all but say he was wrong. And I don't know. I just I don't want to afford him the same grace that Elon Musk has received. Just comparing the two because they're probably the two closest guys in their position. You know what I mean? I don't know. But
I think Zuckerberg should be in prison.
But and that's the thing. And that's the thing. I mean, he's done a lot of damage. And so, I mean, yeah, we're supposed to forgive him or whatever. But at the same time, like, he broke some laws and he did a lot of damage to American society, which, you know, he hasn't done anything to accommodate or apologize or be even responsible for that. He wants to blame the American government or the FBI for the pressure that they put on him and stuff like that. So, you know, if he wants to become red pilled, that's on him. Everybody that has been red pilled in the process started from a bullcrap left field position and wised up and then became, you know, more of a free thinker. But he's done a lot of things, you know. I won't compare him to Fauci. Like if Fauci were to start all of a sudden loving on Trump or being free speech, you know what I mean? You got to consider some of the stuff that they still should be held accountable for. But, you know, I'm all for people wising up and becoming more of a free thinker. But for now, Zuckerberg's still just a piece of junk to me.
Yeah. I think not even just on the electioneering stuff, but censoring a sitting president, censoring information on behalf of the government as well, in regards to COVID. I think that you either have a country and a system where justice is blind or justice can see its friends. And I think ultimately we have arrived at the position where justice sees its friends. Um, I cannot for the life of me understand why conservatives are so easily willing to look at the people who outright destroyed and have shaped things in such a bad direction to go, oh, look, he got this haircut and he went on Joe Rogan. Well, all is forgiven. It's like, dude, it's so to me, and forgive me, people like Zuckerberg in here, but man, I find that to just be so pathetic.
Yeah.
This is somebody who, even if he was not to be sentenced in prison for 40 years, at least exile him. Like, you got to go live in Brazil now, dude. Like, I don't care. Get out. Like,
right.
you know, take your citizenship, just get out. Like, he's, and him along with, you know, and I would say the same thing for Vijay Gadde, Jack Dorsey, the Twitter files, you know, all of it, everybody who played a role in that, because it's yeah, Kella full of conservatives. You can't even begin to quantify the damages that were done. I mean, when you look at the fact of, I mean, we'll just take electioneering, for example, because that one doesn't have like a death count associated with it. But still, like with the New York Post story, as well as all the other aspects they did to censor, who's to say how much that actually influenced the election in 2020, even among what the voter fraud and everything that existed there too was. But then you take it to COVID, and how many people would have otherwise not, either for one, you know, taken the jab, or secondly, would have used something else that was being deemed as a horse dewormer, or done other kind of methods that would have otherwise helped them, and then chose to do something that ultimately is destroying their DNA genome. So when you look at it from that aspect, it's like this guy has, maybe not as much blood on his hands as Dr. Fauci does, but he definitely played his role in that too. And so
Right.
for him to just come out and say, well, you know what, now I'm going to copy Elon Musk, and like, no, it's where the fair winds blow. He sees the business opportunity. He sees that if he wants to continually make money and subvert into people, and continue to stay in good graces in the public sphere, so we can continue to churn profit at margins that are, would blow our minds away. He does these things. He goes on these social media tours and does this stuff now. And that's
Right.
not to say there may not be an actual honest redemption in his arc. Maybe he did see the wrongs of his ways, but there still needs to be consequences for such. I don't
Right.
think this even goes along with like the Nala stuff. Like this Nala girl who sold porn on OnlyFans and all, makes us millions of dollars on the back of married men who probably destroyed their marriages, just to gain attention from this female. And then she goes, hey, like, I'm not turning any of that money back, but I'm a Christian now. And now she's going on Jesus Loves Me tours. And people are like, that's who I listen to for my gospel. It's ridiculous. It's like a bank robber stealing money, and he made $10 million by stealing from banks. And then he's like, I know what I did was wrong, but I'm not giving the money back. Like,
Now all of
that's
a sudden,
ridiculous.
right? That's a great analogy. And now all of a sudden, the guy that he's worked against, the guy that he's robbed from in his community, is now coming into power in 4 days, 5 days, or whatever. You go on
Yeah.
this redemption arc, right? I
Yeah.
mean, by the way, good night, Knights of Gideon. Hopefully, we'll see you in the spaces and
Take care, son.
shows and stuff like that. Take care. But I just wanted to mention that, throw that in there too, that the timing of it is peculiar, right? Had he done it before the election, this time of year last year, a little bit more believable, as far as you could take out the variable that would be self-preservation, because
Yeah.
he's staring down the barrel of a bunch of people that he's worked against for years, now becoming into power in the House, the Senate, and the White House. So you have to factor that into the timing of it. Is the worst timing for him, as far as him earning favor from a person like me or like us.
Right. And too much who has been given, much will be expected. This guy has much power and influence in this country, and he chose to do the absolutely worst things with it. In fact, he should be held to a higher standard than somebody who would have robbed something from a convenience store. Ultimately, you want to believe the redemption arc, you go, okay, fine, we're not going to put you in jail for the rest of your life, but you have to live in Canada if they'll even have you.
Mhm.
Don't worry, we're sending your family with you, because we're not going to force them to stay here without a father. They're going to feel the consequences of your choices as well. It's going to be public, and that's why I think justice has to be blind. Like, it literally has to be, or otherwise you will forever have a system that plays friends.
Right.
And that system is so broken, because all it really matters is who's in power. And ultimately, if we operate purely by who we like in our relationships, and not with principle, we will forever be in these ridiculous situations.
Yeah, and Liquefier says treason, either whether it be treason, sedition, definitely stuff that I would like to see Mark Zuckerberg, face the wrath of, face the fire of. But let's move over here to the Pete Hegseth story. I did ultimately make it my my title and thumbnail. So if you're here for that, apologize. I apologize for the wait. Hopefully, we've been entertaining enough in the interim. But
Yeah, sorry I talked too long.
no, it's both of us. It's both of us. It's been a good conversation that I appreciate. So I have this 11-second video, but this let me put it on the screen actually, so you guys can see it. Literally, the Bible. Reminder: the Bible literally says women ruling over a nation is evidence of God's judgment, and we got this kind of mashup right here.
Yes,
Are you willing to support
yes,
our veterans organizations
that
that will help our veterans
yes,
get
or no,
every
but you
damn
don't
thing
know
that they
that.
deserve because they signed on the dotted line?
And Pete's sitting there thinking, none of you could fight in my army.
Yeah. Well, in the 10-second video, every American man related to him instantly. He became the most relatable guy, like, overnight.
Right, for sure. I'm scrolling down. I've reposted a bunch of stuff that I want to share. It came across our own stream. It's a mirror. But make sure you guys, if you're watching on X, do hit that like button. Maybe consider sharing this. Same thing if you're watching on Facebook, or not Facebook. We're not on Facebook. We're talking about Facebook, so it's on my mind. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, but let's see here. We're going to start off with this right here. Actually, before we get into that, let's stay on. Oh, okay. I see what this was. This was
Yeah, the
another.
one on the outline is just a bunch of different reactions, all saying the same thing.
Yeah, this one was another person's opinion on the same video. The domination of women is tyranny in the Commonwealth and the death of the family, Aristotle. And then this person said in response as well, the American Longhouse from the United States government to the evangelical church. This is what gave you at corroborate. Oh, Andrew Tate. He's at Cobra Tate. I said corroborate. I was like, I thought he went by something else. Cobra Tate. Whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll go over here now. This is Sarah Fields posted absolutely phenomenal during the Senate confirmation hearing of Pete Hegseth. Hegseth spoke on DEI. Quote, the dumbest phrase in military history is our unity, is our quote unity of strength. No, our shared purpose is our strength. And so here's Pete talking on that.
Ukraine was mentioned and ensures new wars are not started. There was a minor incursion under Barack Obama into Crimea, followed by nothing under President Trump, followed by an all-out.
That soundbite is a form of torture. When I first played it, it was way too loud. It was like rattling the frontal lobe in my head, like
instantly my head flooded with thoughts of divorce.
it was like it's like what happened to the aliens on what is that movie? Oh gosh, why can't I think of it? Where the aliens go whack 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 whack. That's how they talk. Oh my gosh, what is that? Help me out, chat. It's got so many famous people in that movie. Attack from Mars. Mars attacks. Mars attacks. The only thing that kills them. Yeah, thank you, Earl's daughter. The only thing that kills them is playing some like old record. I don't even know who it is, but the guy's singing or lady's singing, and it just scrambles their brains and their heads blow up. That's what I was feeling when I played that clip.
That's funny. What is it? The acoustic energy attack?
Right. By the way, if you guys haven't seen that movie, it's really funny. And when you go back and watch it, it's like, wow, I can't believe all these famous people were in it. Anyways, let's start this over. I got distracted. JB says they don't like him because they're scared.
Ukraine was mentioned and ensures new wars are not started. There was a minor incursion under Barack Obama into Crimea, followed by nothing under President Trump, followed by an all-out assault by Vladimir Putin into Ukraine under the Biden administration. That did not happen under Donald Trump. Donald Trump managed the Taliban. Under the Biden administration, Afghanistan collapsed tragically, ending in the lives of 13 at Abbey Gate, who we remember every single day, and no one was held accountable for that. Chinese spy balloons were flying over the country. None of that happened under Donald Trump, and our warfighters understand that. So there's no better recruiter, in my mind, for our military than President Donald Trump. My job is to come alongside him, should I be confirmed, and continue to emphasize his emphasis on warfighting, on getting anything that doesn't contribute to meritocracy out of how decisions are made inside the Pentagon. What gender you are, what race you are, your views on climate change, or whether you are a person of conscience and your faith should have no bearing on whether you get promoted or whether you're selected to go to West Point or whether you graduate from Ranger School. The only thing that should matter is how capable are you at your job? How excellent are you at your job? I served in multi-ethnic units in every place that I worked, every place that I served. None of that mattered. But suddenly we re-inject DEI and critical race theory, dividing troops into different categories, oppressor and oppressed, in ways that they otherwise just want to work together. That's why I've pointed out before, and I'll say it again, and because I'm sure it'll be quoted to me at some point, the dumbest phrase in military history is our unity is our strength. No, our shared purpose is our strength. Our shared mission is our strength. We are one DoD community of all committed to the same mission. Has nothing to do with your background. Has to do with what your commitment is to the country. And that is my solemn pledge to every single person that would put the uniform on and reflects President Trump's priorities as well. Senator.
What I like most about Pete Hegseth, and there's some things I don't like about Pete Hegseth, but there's a lot that I do like about him. And the main thing is the extreme anti-woke stuff. Like he is going so hard against like the DEI crap, going hard against like women being in the military, the transgender stuff as well. I think the women being in the military is probably the best one, because that's just, for one, like I don't even know how you can call yourself a Christian nation when you put women in the military. I mean, I just like it's outright like did you like, do you know, like, are we not supposed to be protecting these people? You know, there goes like a difference between like what people view to be American liberty versus like what the Bible says as well, but not to go too deep in that. But largely his very anti-woke stuff, right? And I'm someone who wrote a large piece, and did a large piece defending him against like some of these false sexual assault allegations too. Because I'm somebody who's always going to, I cannot stand all of these, the fake rapes and the lies and all the allegations, especially when it's like all consensual. And that story was aggressive because it was a woman who was married who chose to sleep with Pete and then lied about it. And then that was what was being used against him leading up to these confirmations of why he's a bad person. But ultimately making the military what it's supposed to be, which is God-fearing men, and he gets called a Christian extremist too, but God-fearing men whose purpose is to protect the rights and freedoms of America. And I think that's a great, good thing. His downsides fall also on his, I guess, rather lack of understanding, or really the best way to put it is the dispensationalism that he exhibits when it comes to Christianity. Outside of that, though, you got to think about it pragmatically in steps. Pete Hegseth is a huge step up from what we were previously, having to deal with, like the previous Secretary of Defense, who was like the guy who wore like a dog mask, I believe, like this weirdo, like I can't even think of what is his, her, they, she, its name, have no idea. But I think that's ultimately a good thing, and people are going to scream as this occurs. But I will be there rejoicing as like they remove women out of the military and they go, you're not on frontline service anymore. You can do medic stuff, but you're not combat medics. All of that kind of peeling back and moving to an actual more traditional setup of the military, I think, is an ultimate good.
Right. And I think, women have traditionally played important roles when it comes to like in the military. Not necessarily even in the military, but when it comes to supporting the military over our country's history, it's the whole sending them to the front lines and lowering the standards for women, essentially, to be frontline soldiers and things like that. That really that bothers me the most, I think. We got this question here. Do you think they strategically placed nothing but women behind him as well? Oh, you know it. I think for sure they strategically did that because they're looking for any opportunity to, capitalize on. Oh, look at their faces whenever he said this. He's such a misogynist. You know what I mean? And I just can't help but wonder, or can't help but think that. I mean, honestly, it's just knowing the leftist tactics.
They're just trying to make him look better. They're like, look, dude, this guy's always surrounded by women.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's smart if women know how to fly jets and change a tire as much as planting a garden and nurturing children and others. I ultimately think that we are largely blinded by the time period that we live in. I think, you literally go back 200 years ago. If a woman was married to a man, she literally probably could even cross the country without being assaulted, raped, or murdered. There's obviously differences that have come along with modern day and the lack of violence and the security state that our government has put in place for its positives and its goods, or positives and its cons. But ultimately, it shouldn't be a focus. It shouldn't be a focus at all. And largely what, Worrell's alluding to with the support structure was a lot of like the kind of like supply line stuff.
Mhm.
things that were very far and away from the actual action of the military
Production.
front.
Yes.
Yeah, and production as well, supporting like all the blacksmithing and things that and industrial work that was occurring because so many men were not there to be fulfilling those positions that the woman would take over. Um, but largely, um, we used to have a sense of honor in this country, um, where men would be ashamed, like if a woman had to take their position, or if a woman had to do what they were doing because like they weren't good enough, and there used to be kind of a deep kind of like rooted like feeling of shame. Um, if you were unable to do your position, that woman had to take over and do them for you. And there's also an honor in the fact of not wanting women to even be anywhere close to the violence, doing everything in your power to prevent it from occurring in the first place. But when it obviously or it hits the fan, doing everything in your power to ensure their protection as well. Um, Now, again, there's caveats in the fact that a lot of the way that warfare has kind of evolved, that it's changed some things. We don't fight with knives and daggers and like one on one each other anymore. Although that happens in smaller incursions. But now we're having like drones, right? Like drone can fly into like that's warfare now. A drone can just fly into a building and boom, it's going off. And so now it's a battle of like who's the better pilot, like technology. So that changes things as well. Um, but ultimately there's a great good in the fact of making the army masculine again, making the army stand for what its traditional purpose should be, especially
Yeah.
for the foot soldiers and the Army Rangers, the Marine Corps, the Navy SEALs, all of that, and ensuring the best of the best are there.
Right. And to LOL and Marvel's point, comment, I don't know if she was referring to flying jets in the military or just flying jets. Because if you're a pilot, that's one thing. I mean, I think that's a whole different story. But if you're talking about flying an F-16 into enemy territory, potentially getting shot down, that's what I don't support. But if a
Right.
woman can pass everything as far as flying a commercial airline or something like that, 100%. I would be fine with that. So drawing the line of distinction between there. Obviously, a woman should be able to change a tire, know how to change a tire as well, and then planting a garden, nurturing children. Much as I think everybody should know how to grow a garden. Honestly, it's really hard here in Florida to do. By the way.
Yeah, well, I think there's like a couple points in there. I think when it comes to like changing a tire, I think it's obviously best that everybody knows how to change a tire, but
Right.
ultimately it's probably best that the woman's not the one who has to do it. Um, Secondly, though, when it comes to flying planes as well too, there does come to actually be an actual biological argument against it, right? Too, you go to things like hand-eye coordination, decisions under pressure, all of these things that kind of don't lean in women's favor. Because even if you're not in wartime scenario, you may be forced with a bad weather turbulence, something that may have occurred that would put you into a position of under a lot of emotional stress, decision making, all things that actually are in the realm of man and what God designed men to be in the form of like the leadership.
Mhm.
And that's also the argument goes the same way, but that's not the environment we're in right now, right? The environment we're in right now is like a lot of women are being told to be men. And if it was happening the other way around, I would oppose it too, right? Like if there was all of this, like they were getting campaigns where it's like men should be at home and men should be taking care of their children, and it's like, and men should be making dinner. It's like, I would oppose that too. Like that's not men's place. Like that's not the playground for men. Like you should be out like working and getting a job, providing. You should be learning how to fight. Like you shouldn't be like, leaving your self-defense of your home to be like to your woman, right? Like I would oppose it on both ends, right? Like there are specific roles that we were designed for as God created us to be. Now, ultimately, I still would say even on the pilot on the commercial line, and I would still rather prefer like if I got on a plane, I would rather see a male pilot than a female pilot, and that all goes into the decisions of. I know that God designed men to have greater hand-eye coordination, and I know that God designed men to have greater leadership capabilities. So even if there was a woman who would surpass some men, even in this day and age, because a lot of men are very pathetic, I still would lean on the natural law of what God designed and the logic that goes in that, and have a greater belief in a man fulfilling that position than I would a woman.
Abigail Shepard says, I hate feminists for making me get a job, but for real, men should be the one in these roles over women. Yeah. Friggin' feminists. They ruined it all, right?
Yeah.
Jerks.
Five waves of it. 5 waves.
Yeah. So we got this clip right here from DC Drano posted. Capitol Police physically carried out another protester from Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing. Why Warhawks don't want this guy in power. Listen to Pete's words. Go ahead and play this.
When President Trump chose me for this position, the primary charge he gave me was to bring the warrior culture back to the Department of Defense. He, like me, wants a Pentagon laser focused on lethality, meritocracy, warfighting, accountability, and readiness crisis in our ranks.
Members of the security force will remove members.
They literally picked his ass up and carried him out.
Was that a guy or a girl? I couldn't tell.
I think it was a guy. You can hear him yelling. Can't really make out what he's saying.
Members of the security force will remove members.
Man.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but bringing the warrior culture back, right? And somebody recently, along with this confirmation of Pete Hegseth, they posted a lot of like statistics that talked about the differences between mixed units and all male units, and all male units outperformed the mixed units on nearly every single metric.
I think it was every single metric, not nearly, but I think it was every single metric.
Like things like response time, quickness, like all the different things that they measured for like what a unit would be getting measured for. And it's just logic, right? It's just nature. And like a lot of this goes back to like we're fighting the literal God's design to make these things function. And that's why you see dysfunction. And ultimately the last place it should be in is the military. Something that is like highly, highly, highly revolving around the very nitpicky aspects, right? Because in very, times of crisis, like a second is a lifetime. And a lot of these like very, very minute decisions that have to be made 0.5 seconds. And then, actual moves, maneuvers, gunfire, aiming, hand, all of those things play a role in that too. And so to ultimately risk and jeopardize people's safety as well as others' defense and our own security, to appease women fulfilling positions is ultimately, it's just like there's just nothing logical about it, and ultimately it's just trying to defeat God's design.
Yeah, at TNT Cycle says right here, men have to carry the woman's gear. That's got to f up morale. And the other thing is, men inherently want to protect women. So, like, say if there was an all women's regiment or whatever, or even the women being involved in a mixed one, the men would be willing to take higher risk to, like, say that they got in trouble, the women's regiment gets in trouble in a battle or something like that. Men will be more prone to run to the rescue of a group of women. At least that's a take that Phil has from Timcast. I think it's worth repeating. I don't know if I agree with it 100%, to be honest with you, because I feel like even if it was a men's regiment in trouble, the men would inherently want to come to the rescue as well. I think the factor is that there's most likely a higher probability that a woman's regiment, and forgive me if I'm saying regiment, I'm using it wrong, platoon, whatever, would become be in a situation where they might need to be helped or rescued or something like that.
Right.
And also they can't, to TNT's point, women can't carry as much weight, which most of the weight from which they carry is ammunition. So just with that alone, they're not going to be able to fight a battle for as long just based on supplies. So they would be more prone to be in a bad situation or a worse situation or whatever. See, Earl's daughter says nothing can suck the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness out of you like a woman trying to be a man or a man trying to be a woman. I'm so tired of it all. Yeah, I know. It really is. It's just it's one thing which I still don't agree with. I don't think should happen, but it's one thing if they just do this in the quiet comfort of their home. But it's another thing when them and their keepers, right? The left Democrat Party essentially want to make sure that you're using their pronouns and want to protect their feelings and everything that goes along with it. You know what I mean? Then it's just like you're stressing me out. I don't want to care about that shit.
Yeah, right.
Let's see here. Jay says, if they had women in my unit, they wouldn't have gotten they would have gotten pregnant before we ever saw combat. That's the other factor that goes in there too. It's a distraction.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Let's see here. So we got this video queued up. I want to play this because this was one of the highlights.
You're not.
The whole interview with Elizabeth Warren, and I'm not sure if this is like the best part, but we'll get to that if it isn't.
You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one. You're not willing to make that same
Ah,
pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
You'll be the one, let us just be clear, in charge of the generals. So you're saying sauce for the goose, but certainly not sauce for the gander?
I would want to see what the policy of the
Oh,
president
I'll
is.
bet you
Thank-
would.
oh, it sucks. They kind of like shared. They did the joke at the beginning on that one, but yeah, she was running him through the mud, saying your previous take is that generals should not be allowed to go and work for military industrial complex companies, blah blah blah. And then she's like, "Well, you follow the same suit," and he's like, "Well, I'm not a general, dipshit." And everybody laughed.
Yeah, this is even outside of the military, this is also there's larger reasons at play of why women should not be leaders of the state either. And I think ultimately we see a lot of these reasons just play itself out in front of us with the Pete Hegseth nomination.
Right. Well, I'm just gonna kind of run through a bunch of these little clips here.
I'm sorry for what has been happening to you, particularly the very idea that you should have to sit there and answer hypothetical potential in somebody's imagination crimes that may take place at some point. And wouldn't that disqualify you if you were a murderer or if you were a rapist? Unfair. And I'm embarrassed for this behavior.
And that was Senator Kevin Cramer apologizing for the Democrats' behavior during the Pete Hegseth confirmation hearing. I don't have these in any particular order. I was just, when I saw them, I was retweeting them, reposting them, I guess I should say. Earl's daughter says, "Oh, Pete, don't make me laugh. It makes me cough." Yeah, I've been dealing with that for a couple weeks now. So I feel your pain.
Got hit with the mist.
The mist got me.
He will bring the perspective of being the first Secretary of Defense to have served as a...
Oh yeah, this is Trump's national security advisor nominee Mike Walls dropping truth bombs on Armed Service Committee members who oppose Pete Hegseth's confirmation for the Secretary of Defense. Wanted to make sure I set that one up. Unfortunately, this is as loud as it goes.
The perspective of being the first Secretary of Defense to have served as a junior officer on the front lines, not in the headquarters, on the front lines in the war on terror, and recognizes the human costs, the financial costs, and the policy drift that was discussed often in this very room that led us to decades and decades of war. So not only does he understand the threats he faces, but as the chairman mentioned, he is brilliant in my mind at communicating those to the American people in a way that is often not communicated in Washington, D.C., to reach out to the American people so that they understand why the military needs to do what it needs to do. And look, I have no doubt that he is going to get the Pentagon back to its primary mission, lethal readiness. That warrior ethos is what our enemies will respect. That warrior ethos is what our enemies will fear. And it's that warrior ethos that will keep the peace. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in my humble opinion, our military deserves better than it's getting. Our country faces a devastating recruitment crisis. Men and women are not volunteering to serve at the levels required. Our readiness is down. Our costs are up. And it seems like nearly every major weapon system, again, often discussed in this very room, is costing too much, delivering too little, and taking way too long. The bottom line is the status quo is unacceptable. It's not working. And the members of this committee, you all know it. You know it's not working. And the members of the House Armed Services know it's not working. And we have hearing after hearing, year after year. And here we are decades later describing the same problems. The Pentagon has continuously failed audits. The businesses that want to do business with the Pentagon have to pass an audit, but the entity itself fails an audit. Innovation is stalled, morale is down, standards have been weakened, and meritocracy is less valued. And as a result, our adversaries have been emboldened all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for change. It is time for change. You all have literally seen thousands of veterans, as the chairman cited one amazing Medal of Honor recipient. But we have seen thousands of veterans expressing their support for Pete. This is a man who can reinvigorate that warrior ethos, and this is a man that will lead. I can't imagine having a more capable partner in my position as National Security Advisor. Pete is a man of family, of faith, and he's committed to making our country strong again. And most importantly, brother, I know this in my core, he will always have as a first principle the service members that are out there on the front lines for all of us at the heart of every decision.
I really hope he does get confirmed. I believe he will, just because of the Republican majority.
Oh, shoot.
He's trying to leave.
Wrong camera.
Whoa, what's that? That's pretty funny. Are you needing to dip out? I know we're over our time frame. I'm gonna have to wrap up here before too long as well, just because we got family coming to town here. Flight's gonna land, I believe, in about an hour. So
yes. But I was gonna say, you can keep going. You can
yeah, I
definitely
think
keep
I'm gonna
going.
go for a little. You need to dip out right now. That's fine.
Yeah,
I
well, I
just
can
don't
also
want.
hear my daughter screaming in the other room too. So
Right,
I
right.
don't know what's
I
going
can't
on with that.
I can't hear it, so at least you don't got to worry about that.
But yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. Thanks everybody for being here. As always, follow me at Atlas Thugged on YouTube. Make sure you follow World as well, America First TV. Spaces on X at 6:30 p.m. Sucks I won't be able to touch on the Pam Bondi stuff as well. I had some things to say there, but we'll get into it as well, since all
Yeah.
those confirmation hearings were taking place today. And Christ is King, and I will see you guys on Friday, whoever makes it. And then I'll be on a solo show on Saturday as well, since War will be leaving for the inauguration.
Yeah, I'll be on a flight traveling and all that type of stuff, and trying to catch the Chiefs playoff game in the process. So
Yeah, must see TV.
Gonna be a busy one for me. But if you guys are over on Alice's channel, you can jump over if you want to continue watching on America First TV. So anyways, yeah, man, appreciate it. Go take care of the family, and I'll see you on the Discord. We'll see you in the spaces and all that stuff going forward. So
yeah, definitely. If you guys want to keep watching, make sure you do jump over to World's channel. Let me pipe it in my comment section here.
okay. All right. And while you do that, I'm gonna see here. I want to go through this top 5 moments from Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing.
Yes, I will see you guys all soon, and take care, brother. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, man. Have a good one. All right. So let's let me change that layout a little bit now. Guess that's all right. I mean, center camera. Okay. All right. So let's continue here. We're going to And make sure you guys, if you're on my channel, you do check out Atlas Thug on YouTube. Once again, he is trying to get that 1,000 subscribers. He's about 50 away in my last check. And getting to the 1,000 is a big milestone, a big moment for any YouTuber as far as monetization and some of the things that it unlocks being a part of the partnership program. So appreciate you guys for doing that. And let's go ahead and we're going to count through the top 5 moments of Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing. And then I'm going to get into some of the Pam Bondi stuff from today. There's not as many highlights from hers, but there was, I did like how she pushed back against some of the woke, Democrats, Adam Schiff particularly. She's my initial thoughts on Pam Bondi was, I had some red flags based on her opinion on red flag laws and some other things. And, she won me over quite a bit today, but anyways, let's check this first video out here.
Small handful of anonymous sources were allowed to drive a smear campaign. And
I'm sorry, I hope the volume's not too low. If it is, then we'll I'll just skip over this for you guys, but these were good. Subtext bomber. Good to see you, bud. I don't know if he got confirmed or not. Maybe somebody can Google that and see if they actually voted on it or not. I know that the Democrats made a motion to try to have a second round of questioning, which was denied. So hopefully that'll speed up the process. And I do believe there is a second round of questioning in the Pam Bondi situation, though. So I don't know why there's a difference between the two, but anyways, let's check this out.
a small handful of anonymous sources were allowed to drive a smear campaign, an agenda about me, because our left-wing media in America today, sadly, doesn't care about the truth. All they were out to do, Mr. Chairman, was to destroy me. And why do they want to destroy me? Because I'm a change agent and a threat to them, because Donald Trump was willing to choose me, to empower me, to bring the Defense Department back to what it really should be, which is warfighting.
Everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean, you're basically saying women after they have children can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. So you say it was a political thing. You say it undermined us, social engineering. I don't know why someone having to publicly say or not publicly say who they love is social engineering.
The senator from Virginia starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No, but it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye.
I have read multiple reports of your regularly being drunk at work, including by people who worked with you at Fox News. Do you know that being drunk at work is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
Senator, those
Yes
are
or no?
multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know
that run
that
directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to the
is
dozens
That's funny, TNT. I thought the same thing. She's like, you know, I'm really drunk.
of men and women at
not
Fox News
contemplated
Channel
on it?
who
I'm not
I work
hearing-
with
I'm
who
not
came
hearing
on
the
the
answer to my
record
question.
and said they've
In your
never
opening
seen
statement,
that.
Mr.
Also should
In
be at the
other
Defense Department.
words, you're quite sure that every general who serves should not go directly into the defense industry for 10 years. You're not willing to make that same pledge?
I'm not a general, Senator.
Look at her face.
You'll be the one.
Even the ladies behind him laughed at that one. That's good. That's hilarious. JB, Jay says, people saying women should be in combat have no idea what it's like. And I really respect your opinion on that, Jay. I know you have a lot of experience fighting for our country and our freedoms and stuff like that. So when you say that, it has a lot of weight to me. Let's see. Your Tix Bomber says we're just going through the heresy now, just throwing it out like a fact. The girl on the right's based. Yeah. They both laughed at that one. That's for sure. Right here, this is Senator Kristen Gillibrand, probably Gillibrand, has a total meltdown during Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing, whines about his comments regarding transgenders in the military. This is what a professional actor looks like, folks. And that's a post from Colin Rugg.
In the DOD, everything you've said in these
Man,
public
these are also
statements is
quiet.
politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean, you're basically saying women after they have children can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. It's a silly thing to say beneath the position that you are aspiring to.
Well, just my opinion is once you have a baby, you should raise your baby, right? And it's going to be embarrassing for you if you raise an athletic young boy that when he turns 16 comes to the realization that he's faster, stronger, and more athletic than you've ever been. He's really going to have a lack of respect for the military for allowing you to have a combat role.
To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. So please know this to be a true statement. So you say it was a political thing. You say it undermined us, social engineering. I don't know why someone having to publicly say or not publicly say who they love is social engineering. I think in the DOD.
Well, and that's probably one of the problems that you have with your ideology there in the Democratic Party. This is Tammy Duckworth having a meltdown in Pete Hegseth's Senate's confirmation.
Have you led an audit of any organization? Yes or no? I don't want a long answer. Yes or no? Have you led an audit of any organization of which you were in charge?
Senator, in both of the organizations I ran, we were always completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no? Did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes or no? Did you lead an audit? Yes or no?
Completely
what are you afraid of?
By the way, I hate it how they frame these questions and then they demand a yes or no answer. It's like I can't give you a yes or no answer. That doesn't make sense. Like you're trying to got you question me when I'm in a Senate confirmation hearing or,
You can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every
yes or
part
no?
of my leadership
yes
of these organizations
yes
has
or
been
no, did you lead an audit?
misrepresented.
I will take that as a no. What were the findings? So there were no findings.
she'll take it as a no, but I'm going to take that as a yes.
You've never led an audit.
Since it's just assumptions, right?
What guidance did you give the auditors? None, because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hegseth. What we expect is for you to understand the complexity of this Pentagon budget process that is absolutely necessary to outfit our war fighters. Have you led an
I don't know. Were you guys able to catch much of this? This Senate confirmation hearing yourselves? I'm just curious. It was like midday, so a lot of people are working and stuff like that. JB. LOL Marble. I see you're still on Atlas's channel. That's interesting. Maybe he kept the stream going. That's okay. I was just curious what was I figured it would shut down when he left. Interesting. Learning new things. It's all good. This is I think this is Rob Smith. He posted it himself. But I'm in the building at Pete Hegseth's Secretary of Defense confirmation hearing. The crowd is mostly supportive and filled with veterans, but there are some agitators in the crowd. Pete will be confirmed. So let's hear what he has to say about this. And who is he? I think he is a He's a decorated Iraq veteran, Columbia-educated journalist. Okay.
All right, so I'm in the building where Pete Hegseth is about to have his Senate confirmation hearing today. There's a lot of different people in the room, mostly veterans that are here in support of Pete Hegseth. There was this event yesterday where there were Navy SEALs, assorted other veterans, all coming together to show support for Pete Hegseth. That's Joey Jones. If you're a Fox watcher, you will recognize him. Obviously, Pete's co-worker for quite some years over at Fox. There are some agitators and potential protesters. There are people in the audience that are wearing shirts that say reject Hegseth. There are people in the audience that are wearing shirts that say reject holy war. So there's definitely a big mix of people in the crowd. But I will say, as somebody that's here, the vast majority of people that are in the crowd here are in support of Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. So we're going to see how this goes today. All right,
So JB mentioned, it amazes me how opposite the parties are and that we've never been so separated. You know, and that's a shame. You know, we saw this in this last election with, Kamala and Trump, and how the left just continually catered to the fringes, right? Everything that all their talking points, everything that they were focused on was catering to the fringe. It was never trying to reach the populace, the center, anything like that. And the reality is, I think us as people, we're probably more aligned on most things than, the government, the mainstream media would have us, believe. And that's part of the process where they would rather have us fighting with each other, not realizing that our enemies are actually not each other. It's the governments that are pushing this ideology and the way that they do. And they spend so much money. What Kamala spent like $1.3 billion in 3 months trying to campaign against Trump. And all we got out of it was telling women to lie to their husbands and go and vote for her vote for Kamala secretively behind their husband's back. We saw the white guys for Harris. Yeah, it was white guys for Harris, I think. Then we saw the other commercial that was a mix of guys, but it was a bunch of feminine men acting like that's the new masculinity. It's really just smoke and mirrors. I don't know, because I even feel like these people in DC, they're sending their kids to school together. They go out golfing, afterwards. Probably not like the most extreme of them. Like I doubt Matt Gaetz is golfing with Adam Schiff, but I do know Matt Gaetz was working with AOC on some things, So I don't know. It's a shame that they play these divisive tactics that ultimately pit Americans against each other and into these cults, essentially, especially on the left. Jay followed up, politics only work when the people are separated. Never forget that. I agree. And it's just so weird. I think it's something that we should all be able to universally agree on, that women shouldn't be pushed to the front lines of combat in war. I mean, there used to be more things. I will say there used to be more things that we would all generally agree on than there are today. You know what I mean? It's all pandering to absolutes and extremes now. Yeah, exactly. By spent, I mean pocketed. Yeah, right. Exactly. I'd like to see those receipts of where that $1.3 billion went. I know one of the big fundraisers for the Democratic Party, her name's Lindy Lee, and I've touched on her. It sounds weird. I've covered her on the channel in some videos, and she raised tens of millions of dollars for the Democrat Party, for Kamala Harris. And she's pissed off because when Kamala would travel, they were putting people up in 5-star hotels, just living the high life. They were also lying. They knew the actual poll numbers were showing that Trump was winning, but they were projecting that Kamala was winning, which was encouraging people to continue to give money to her campaign. It's just a big lie. It's a big farce. And yeah, I definitely would like to see those receipts of where that money was really spent. And, what's the line that they draw? Like if you put somebody up in 5-star hotel and feed them steaks and eggs and, top meals the whole time on their trips with high per diem and everything like that, like, is that pocketing it? In my opinion, it is. These people aren't supposed to live the high life off of donor money and government money and things like that. They're supposed to represent us and be amongst us, and that's just not they never will. They want to project that they're kings and possessors of power and stuff like that, but they're not, and you guys know that. Let's see which one. This one, I think I'm going to put it on. That was another video of the dude getting carried out. Let's see here. Pete's opening. Let's see. What is this? Pete Hegseth wows the room with a powerful opening statement. And Hegseth's words came after multiple interruptions from protesters, turning a chaotic confirmation hearing into a masterclass in resilience. I actually want to. We can go ahead and play that, I guess. It's 4 minutes long. I might not play the whole thing, to be honest with you.
The Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength. And in pursuing these America First national security goals, will remain patriotically apolitical and stridently constitutional. Unlike the current administration, politics should play no part in military matters. We are not Republicans. We are not Democrats. We are American warriors. Our standards will be high and they will be equal, not equitable. That's a very different word. We need to make sure every warrior is fully qualified on their assigned weapon system, every pilot's fully qualified and current on the aircraft they are flying, and every general or flag officer is selected for leadership or promotion purely based on performance, readiness, and merit. Leaders at all levels will be held accountable, and warfighting and lethality and the readiness of the troops and their families will be our only focus. This has been my focus ever since I first put on the uniform as a young Army ROTC cadet at Princeton University in 2001. I joined the military because I love my country and felt an obligation to defend it. I served with incredible Americans in Guantanamo Bay, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and on the streets of Washington, D.C., many of which are with me here today. This includes enlisted soldiers I helped become American citizens, and Muslim allies I helped immigrate from Iraq and Afghanistan. Because when I took off the uniform, my mission never stopped. Now, it is true and has been acknowledged that I don't have a similar biography to defense secretaries of the last 30 years. But as President Trump also told me, we've repeatedly placed people atop the Pentagon with supposedly the right credentials, whether they are retired generals, academics, or defense contractor executives. And where has it gotten us? He believes, and I humbly agree, that it's time to give someone with dust on his boots the helm. A change agent, someone with no vested interest in certain companies or specific programs or approved narratives. My only special interest is the warfighter. Deterring wars, and if called upon, winning wars by ensuring our warriors never enter a fair fight. We let them win and we bring them home. Like many of my generation, I've been there. I've led troops in combat. I've been on patrol for days. I've pulled the trigger down range, heard bullets whiz by, flex-cuffed insurgents, called in close air support, led medevacs, dodged IEDs, pulled out dead bodies, and knelt before a battlefield cross. This is not academic for me. This is my life. I led then, and I will lead now. Ask anyone who's ever worked for me or with me. I know what I don't know. My success as a leader, and I very much look forward to discussing my organization's successes at Vets for Freedom and Concerned Veterans for America. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we've done. But my success as a leader has always been setting a clear vision, hiring people smarter and more capable than me, empowering them to succeed, holding everyone accountable, and driving toward clear metrics. Build the plan, work the plan, and then work harder than everyone else around you. I've sworn an oath to the Constitution before, and if confirmed, I will proudly do it again. This time, for the most important deployment of my life. I pledge to be a faithful partner to this committee, taking input and respecting oversight. We share the same goals: a ready, lethal military, the health and well-being of our troops, and a strong and secure America. Thank you for the time, and I look forward to your questions.
Well, I thought I'd maybe not play that whole thing, but that was good. Tix Bomber said Pete dropped the mic elegantly with this speech. Yeah, he really did. He embarrassed Pocahontas. We've seen that one already. Let's see. Anna Paulina Luna, in this one, Anna Paulina Luna is claiming she exposes the Democrats sneaking protesters into Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing. Let's check this out. This is from the Benny Show.
Pete Hegseth coming off great in this hearing, with the exception of a couple of disruptions, which I think I saw you say that.
Well, before I play that, I want to actually comment on the video that we just watched there of Pete. LOL Marble says, yes, Hegseth is real. And, you know, I've advocated, I've thought for a long time, like, when are we going to put generals back in these leadership roles? I mean, he's not a general, but when are we going to get these, you know, these dudes that have actually put their skin in the game back in these type of leadership roles? You know, I love a leader that can lead by example. And he just seems like a real dude. You know, his troubles aside in his past and everything like that. I mean, nobody's perfect, first of all, but I think this guy is really going to do a good job for our military in cleaning it up and making us, you know, the strongest fighting force on the planet, you know, once again. So our enemies are going to fear us with Pete Hegseth. And even our political opponents on the Democrat side, like JB's been saying, they're so scared of this dude. And I completely agree. And it's because he's going to do a good job, and he's going to be anti-DEI, and he's going to work against the progress that the Democrats have made. And I say progress from a Democrat perspective, which never happens. You never see the Republicans ever take back any kind of ground from the Democrats that they take in culture, politically, anything. And you know, that's what the election of Donald Trump, you know, symbolized. And I think that the election of Donald Trump symbolized that the American people are done with that pace. And this is a first step and a good sign from Donald Trump that in his appointment for Pete Hegseth, that we're going to take some ground back. And the military is definitely one of the best places to start. So let's play this video from Benny.
Pete Hegseth coming off great in this hearing, with the exception of a couple of disruptions, which I think I saw you say that these protesters were invited in, they were allowed to stay, and they were invited by Democrats to sit there and disrupt the hearing. Were you near them? Did you see this?
I was actually there at the very beginning for a couple hours, and then I came back towards the end because we had to go vote. But you actually, I think in that clip that's going viral of the Code Pink people, which were the ones that were holding those signs, I was actually standing off, and so you can see me there. They were trying to talk to you. You can see the back of me, actually. I'm turned away in that photo. But what's interesting is, yeah, I'm right there. Those people actually were sitting in some of these Senate designated guest seats. And so it's interesting who gave them tickets, but then also too, I had actually brought in a poster that my staffer had placed in the back that actually had Elizabeth Warren's college application that checked her as being Native American. And they would not allow me to bring that in. And yet these people were literally allowed to stand there, hold up the signs, keep it up. And so very interesting. They wouldn't let me hold my poster, which my poster was way better, but they allowed these crazy, you know, no Christian jihad. I mean, my goodness, these people were screaming, you know, we want peace in the Middle East, which who doesn't want peace? but then they're also advocating against Pete Hegseth and then invited in by senators to hold signs and disrupt. So the whole thing, as you can see, was political propaganda. The media also didn't cover the fact that there was over 500 veterans. Unless it was a conservative outlet, they didn't want to cover that. There was Navy SEALs, there was Green Berets, there was female veterans in there supporting Hegseth, but they didn't want to cover that. They wanted to cover the crazies.
I know we're up against a hard out, but you were going to hold up Elizabeth Warren's Native American tick of the box?
Had posted it and I sent it to my team. I said, please print this. Let's get it. And then, you know, the staff from the president's team was joking around about my sign being, they confiscated it, which is kind of funny, but they allowed the crazy code people. So next time what I'm doing is I'm just going to fold it up, put it in my purse, and then I'll just stick it to the
Perfect. You know, it's crazy because even with well, I guess the majority isn't in there yet, but I was going to say, even with the House and Senate majority being a Republican, it seems like the Democrats still get away with whatever they want. Like, they wouldn't let her put her sign up, but they're going to put these other signs up. Jay says, how much of this is theater? All of it. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but all of it is theater, because we know the House and Senate majority are Republican, and it's career suicide for your political position if you go against Donald Trump right now. If you're a Republican, at least for the Republicans, if you go against Donald Trump's appointments, Elon Musk said that he's gonna fund you being primaried. So your career is not going to be very long lived if you vote against these. And so it's a sheer numbers game at this point. And it's all political theater, and it's really dumb. Like, we were in a chat yesterday, Jay, Yeti, who I haven't seen tonight, and Jamie. And I asked if you guys had seen the Pete Hegseth confirmation, and you guys were like, no. I think Jay said he caught part of it. It was like, one of the questions was, what happened? And I was just like, to sum it up, Democrats did their Democrat thing and the Republicans did the Republican thing. It's really just, it's a shame that Pete has to go through this type of scenario, because I feel like some of those questions and some of the times he was being treated, and this goes for Pam Bondi as well, the way that the Democrats, treat you, the political games that they play, the gotcha questions. I would just, at some point, if it was me, I'd just be like, I'm not going to answer your bullshit question, because you know what? You are not the majority and your vote doesn't matter to me. Not only that, you're going to hate me no matter what. You already do hate me. So why am I even going to entertain your bullcrap freaking questions? You know what I mean? So I don't know. They go through it. They follow the procedures. If they didn't, of course, the mainstream media would come out and point out the irregularities, just like they did with Trump's taxes, which was so stupid, right? I mean, the dude was a billionaire before he was elected the first time. They want to see his tax receipts. And it's like, no, Trump has things to protect. He has, business partners or people that he did business with that don't want the public to know that they did business with Donald Trump, simply based on the way the Democrats are treating everybody around Donald Trump right now, or right then at the time, And so it's like, there's things to protect. And not only that, like, it wasn't necessary. The whole tax return thing, in my opinion, from presidents in history, was to make sure that they're not going to enrich themselves over their presidency. And one thing's for sure, Donald Trump lost a lot of money and was the first president probably in my lifetime that came out of the White House poorer. It's funny to say about Donald Trump, with less wealth than they entered in. I think Obama made $9 million. His net worth went up $9 million over his 8 years on a $450,000 salary. Now, you don't have to be a genius at math, but 450,000 times 8 is not 9 million, right? And so, I don't know. It's it's all, political theater, essentially. Tix Bomber said Christian jihad is multi-syllabic. How do you say that? Multi-syllabic dumb. Right? Tix Bomber then says the movie Wag the Dog from the 90s is quintessential satire in showing that it's all just a dog and pony show. It's very divisive, says Jay, on purpose. And then a House says Republicans embarrassed Ketanji Brown, and she still got approved. It's all theater for their base. Yeah, it really is. And, you know, she shouldn't have been approved, by the way. But, you know, that's how the majorities work. You know, it's just like she didn't she didn't have to sit through that either. Just they need to just go vote. Quit wasting our time. Quit wasting our tax dollars. How much do they get paid per day to do something that's just political theater? Let's see here. Oh, this is a post from DC Drano mentioning that they banned red dye number 3, which I mentioned in the opening. Let's see here. Okay, so I think I'm through the Pete Hegseth stuff. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's it. So let's move over to this Pam Bondi situation. That was what was going on today. Those gummy candies look delicious, by the way. Get off my screen. And I want to mention something else too, which I did put in my thumbnail. It appears that Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth are both more for the case-by-case pardons as it relates to the J6 protesters. And that's not what Trump promised. And so, unfortunately, maybe they were just answering that way because they knew it's what the Democrats want to hear. But it's disappointing to think that Trump might waste the time and disservice, you know, a majority of the people that were there that day by not just issuing a blanket pardon to the January 6th protesters. So your Tix Bomber mentions that Obama left with his Clinton Foundation, with his Obama Library or whatever the F it's called, 1 billion plus and rising ongoing project. Right. And he lives in what? Martha's Vineyard. You know, they're telling us that the seas are going to rise by whatever date, and then they go and buy beachfront property. It's just, you know, they tell you what they think you want to hear, and then they go and do whatever the hell they want once they get elected with the power. But we got this one right here from Chief Trumpster that says, there it is, case by case, no blanket pardons. So let's go ahead and listen to this from Pam Bondi. We'll start off with one of the negative things, which there isn't much, to be honest with you, but we're going to call it out. We're going to express our disapproval when we see it. And this is one of those things.
Do you believe that the January 6 rioters who've been convicted of violent assaults on police officers should be pardoned?
Senator, if confirmed as Attorney General of the United States, the pardons, of course, fall under the president. But if asked to look at those cases, I will look at each case and advise on a case-by-case basis, just as I did my entire career as a prosecutor.
And do you believe that the January 6th
So there you have it. That's a bummer. Who was asking that question? Let me see here.
assaults on police officers
Mr. Durbin. Mr. Durbin. I don't know. Is this Durbin dude a Democrat? Maybe you guys can help me out with that in chat. But I just wish they would have the cojones to be like, yeah, I support blanket pardons for all J6ers. The J6 committee was a joke. They lost all of their. If it was so important, they wouldn't have lost or deleted all of their information in their research, right? It's a complete joke. It's beyond 4 years. It's 4 years now, and we're talking about trespassing. Everybody knows it wasn't insurrection. The FBI came out and made a statement that it was not an insurrection. And anybody with a brain knows that a bunch of gun-loving, you know, Republicans somehow forgot. There was 1 million people there that day, okay? I seen it with my own eyes. There was 1 million people there. I've been to Royals World Series parades where there was like 600, 700, 800,000 people there, according to the reports. I can't remember the exact number. And there were more people in DC that particular day, okay? So 1 million people somehow left all of their weapons at home, most of which, if not all of them, I would argue, have some form of a Second Amendment in their house. And, you know, it's just time to call it for what it is and start freaking making fun of these idiots that want to call it anything other than a protest, you know? Few bad actors got out of hand, and they've been reprimanded and treated way beyond what they should have. 4 years is long enough for sure. But then I gotta open up my bookmarks here. Excuse me. We're gonna start off with Josh Hawley, who is a Missouri senator. I always get confused with their senators or House or whatever, but he's from Missouri. I'm gonna start off with him, and then right after his questioning, his time, right? They always talk about my time. Right after his time, we Adam Schiff got his, and like I said earlier, I think the Adam Schiff part was one of the best parts. But there was other moments where Pam Bondi fought back and showed some her ability to resist the bull crap. She's not going to be beholden to the Democrats, I think, at this point. Let's see here. His name is Dick for a reason. Illinois Democrat. Okay, thanks, Durbin. Okay, thanks for that, House. You're my information source a lot of times. Tix Bomber said, I'd like to see a preemptive pardon for all the crimes I haven't committed. Yeah, so would I. Just like what Hunter got, right? Well, I guess he didn't get it preemptive, but I think it should be blanket preemptive pardons for everybody that was in D.C. that day at the protest, right? Not everybody in D.C., but that was at the protest, the actual protesters. And Jay makes a good point. If Hunter and other got a blanket pardon, then set the J6ers free. Right. I mean, you were talking about going back 4 years, and Hunter got a pardon back to what, 2010 or 2012 or something like that. It's completely ridiculous. But it's just goes to show how rules for thee and rules for me, right? Coming from the Democratic leadership and even some of the Republican, what are they called? Neocons. Let's see, political prisoners in a country that frees political prisoners. Yeah. It was cute too when they wanted to send them to get them out. Yeah, they did. It's just they had to make it the most extreme scenario as possible. That's why they tried to. I mentioned it last show. This the View host Sunny Hostin, whatever the hell her name is. She was saying that J6 was worse than 9/11, or no, she said it was worse than the Holocaust. I think. Maybe both. I don't know. But like I said, they always refer to like the worst times in history at hosting. And that they just have to. They cater to the fringe and they have to be extreme because their policies are no good. You know what I mean? If they had good policies, they wouldn't have to be so extreme all the time. They wouldn't have to follow the path that they do, to be honest with you. And Tix Bomber said they almost got away with it too. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks to Tucker Carlson. I don't know why or how, but remember just for a couple of days, he got access to some of the footage and they did a really good job digging through that footage of J6 from the cameras and stuff inside the Capitol, showing that the doors were open from inside. The magnetically locked doors were open from the inside. The people were waved in. The one guy getting uncuffed, they cuffed a dude and then they uncuffed him like a bad actor, right? They showed the shaman getting escorted around by Capitol Police. They showed him saying like a prayer, thanking the Capitol Police for allowing them to have this day. Yeah, somebody did take a dump on Nancy Pelosi's desk, but that's just funny. You know what I mean? She got a new desk. Don't worry about it. That was your alter ego. That's funny. All right, so let's check out Josh Hawley when he questioned Pam Bondi today. Oh yeah, Tix Bomber said they sure as S don't like you seeing the Ashley Babbitt, being executed scenario. That's for sure. When that video came out of that dude hiding over there in that little nook, pointing his gun, hiding, it's just pure cowardice. You know, in New York, you have the obligation to retreat. You know, you can't just stand your ground and defend your property. Your first obligation is to run out the back door if you can. And that dude, instead, he stood there and waited for her to jump through that window. And as soon as she did, 4 feet even hit the ground, you know, right in the face. So shame on that dude. He should be in prison for sure. And he should have been held to the same standard. I get it was in DC, not in New York, but that's a Democrat standard. You're supposed to run. You're not supposed to stand your ground. And he certainly didn't do that. That dude also had been, you know, he left his weapon loaded in the restroom before. He had a bad history of gun care, right? He got $30K in benefits. Jay says, if you don't think that's funny, you need to get the hell out of here. When Nancy Pelosi, somebody taking a dump on Nancy Pelosi's desk. Yeah, 100%, man. And Andrea, yeah, I can't fathom either how he got away with that. He needs to be accountable for that. And maybe he will. You know, I don't know if Biden gave him a pardon. Maybe now that I mention it and Biden's watching, he will, but he's also on permanent paid leave for his mental anguish and PTSD. What a puss. Such a wuss, man. That's just so stupid and disappointing. Derek Chauvin gets thrown in prison for however long, and this dude blatantly shoots somebody in the face, and he gets a lot of money and mental anguish and PTSD and gets to hide in his little safe space. It's so disappointing. Rules for thee, you know? He was demanding a pardon. Jeez. Okay, we're going to watch this now.
I, too, have taken note of the number of times you have been asked about weaponization of the Department of Justice as if it was a theoretical possibility that might happen in the future. One of my colleagues on the other side said, weaponization may well occur under your tenure. We all know that weaponization has occurred like we've never seen before in American history under this administration. And I want to get even more specific. In the last 4 years, this administration has carried out an unprecedented attack and campaign against people of faith. If you look at the numbers, we've never seen anything like it before in American history. It has been one of the most disgraceful chapters in the history of the Justice Department and in the history of the FBI. And I hope that you will reverse this and do right by every American citizen, including especially people of faith. Let me give you some specifics. After the Dobbs case was decided by the Supreme Court, over 100 pregnancy care centers and over 300 churches in this country were attacked, vandalized, firebombed. Do you happen to know off the top of your head how many prosecutions Merrick Garland's Justice Department brought in those cases? I do not, Senator. It's a stunning number. It's 2. Hundreds of churches, hundreds of pregnancy care centers. And I might just add, these pregnancy care centers, the attacks on them, which were violent, which were gruesome, were egged on and encouraged by rhetoric from members of Congress, including members of this body, who have said that pregnancy care centers aren't real medicine, that they're not real doctors. They have legitimized these attacks. And the same thing was true of churches. And this Justice Department couldn't lift a finger to defend these Americans. But at the same time, they used legislation, a law known as the FACE Act, to prosecute at least 53 different pro-life demonstrators, including people like Mark Houck from Pennsylvania, to whom this Justice Department sent a SWAT team to his door in the early morning hours. He has, I think, 7 children. In the early morning hours, an FBI SWAT team shows up at his door to take him into custody and prosecute him. By the way, he was acquitted. This kind of outrageous, disparate treatment has to end. So here's my question to you. Will you protect churches and pregnancy care centers when they are targeted for violence, when they are targeted for intimidation, when their members or parishioners are threatened with violence or other acts of illegal behavior?
Yes, Senator.
Will you stop the disparate treatment of Americans on the basis of religious faith?
Yes, Senator.
Will you stop the deliberate persecution of pro-life Americans for nothing more than their pro-life beliefs?
Yes, Senator.
Will you ensure that nothing like the Mark Houck case happens again, that Americans do not have SWAT teams arriving on their front doors with armed weapons to terrorize their children and their spouses, only in the end, of course, to have the case lost because there was nothing to it? Will you put an end to that kind of deliberate intimidation of the good American citizens on the basis of their religious beliefs?
Yes, Senator.
I'm glad to hear you say that because we need it. We need it. Ms. Bondi, we need a new chapter at the Justice Department, and we need it quickly.
That was good. Oh, my dogs are barking. Sorry. That was really good. I see a lot of you guys in here. A few of you guys in here also think Josh Hawley's one of the good ones. I like him myself as well. Trump just posted. Okay, that's cool. Trump just posted that he will not be accepting anyone that worked for or who endorsed or who was endorsed. I can't talk now. Or who were endorsed by John Bolton, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Mitt Romney, Matt Ryan, Mark Milley, James Mattis, Mark Esper, the Cheneys, or the Koch Foundation, Koch, whatever they are, the Koch brothers, right? Hold on, Josh. I want 2 years of that. Right? How are we going to retaliate in eye for an eye if there's if they shut it down right away? That's really funny, TNT. Jesse Hernandez asked, when are the confirmations? You know, I'm not 100% sure. I guess I can Google it real fast, but I'm just going to ask it real quick. When are Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth's confirmation vote? We'll just go live Google. Full schedule. Okay, give me 1 second. Because I'm wondering that too. Meanwhile, as you guys know, I'm a Kid Rock fan. And it was announced, I think today, that Kid Rock is going to be playing at the inauguration. So let's go. I can't wait to see that. Usually takes between 1 and 2 weeks between clearing the committee and full Senate vote. For example, ahead of Trump's last term, Education Press Secretary cleared committee on January 31st and won the full Senate's approval on February 7th. 22 people requiring Senate confirmation before they can fill their positions. The first week of hearings has currently scheduled 13, meaning the whole process is unlikely to be completed before Trump's inauguration. What is today, the 15th? So there was a lot of confirmation hearings today. I only saw part of the Pam Bondi one. They have confirmation hearings set for tomorrow as well. Pam Bondi will be facing a second round of questioning. And then, which, like I said before, I don't know why they're doing a second round of questioning for her, but they didn't for Pete. When they tried to ask for it yesterday, the main person running the thing was like, no, as per our agreement on this particular date, we won't have a second hearing, and that's that with that. So that's pretty much all I can find real on that, just in the offset. Maybe if you guys wouldn't mind helping me out there in chat as well, see if maybe you can find more of a harder date where the actual vote's going to happen. But, you know, going back to, since we're talking about Pam Bondi, who was Trump's second pick, the first one was Matt Gaetz. Yeah, no problem, Jesse. I try to do what I can as far as being factual and whatever. But the fact that, you know, to my earlier point that it's all just political theater, it should have been the same thing with Matt Gaetz, you know, in this. It should have been Matt Gaetz today, honestly, in this hearing and not Pam Bondi, in my opinion. It's unfortunate that he backed out of the running and sorry, I was just reading the chat there. You know, because like I said, we have the majority, so and not voting with Trump's cabinet is basically the end of your political career, at least in the short term. Maybe you have a chance of battling back in the future, but JB says, "Oh, I guess I was wrong. Pam is still going. Going it. Pam is still going. I thought she was confirmed already. Yeah, unfortunately, I guess they're not gonna. I guess they're doing all their hearings first, or trying to get them all done first, and then they'll all go and vote. Probably they'll vote on everybody in the same day or the same session or something like that. This is the first time in history that I paid such close attention to this type of scenario, to be honest with you. Yeah, TNT, I'm still confused about Matt Gaetz too. He says you're guessing that Johnson said no effing way. Maybe. I think there was some other ones out there too, or I know there was some other ones out there too, at least 4. I can't remember their names. I think Lindsey Graham was one of them that just blatant said that we're not going to confirm Matt Gaetz, and Matt Gaetz himself said it's going to take a lot longer than it would for somebody like Pam or Trump's second choice to get approved. But then the path that Matt Gaetz took after that with his TV show and everything, I've heard Matt Gaetz say multiple times, I don't get rich doing this, and I think he's chasing the money. I think maybe he might go in for the Florida governor position in 2 years when DeSantis is up, and he's trying to make as much money as he possibly can from now till then. But that's kind of a scumbag move, in my opinion. I'll just say what it is, right? LOL Marvel says Matt Gaetz will come in when Trump gets in the House. He's a stand-up guy. We all made mistakes. I hope so, but I'm not liking what he's doing lately. His if you saw his live interview with Tim Pool when they did their show from AmFest this year, he talked about money a lot. It was a turnoff for me. It bothered me. I didn't like what he was saying, to be honest. I like some of it, but it just kind of came off gross. Andrea says the committee is expected to vote on Hegseth's nomination as soon as Monday, the day of Trump's inauguration. Okay, that's cool. Tick said, yeah, the Gaetz thing is a little eyebrow raising. House points out that there's a lot of pics with Gaetz out there with young looking women. Not a good look, even if he's our guy. Yeah, I mean, if any of that stuff is true, I have no problem denouncing him and calling him a piece of shit scumbag. You know what I mean? But in my mind, when the Democrats are coming after you for so long, and they've only gotten to this point with it, I believe they don't really have a strong leg to stand on when it comes to court, or they don't want to face the questioning that goes on in court and stuff like that. I can't think of the phrase. Jay says, yeah, it's the first time I can think of that the presidential picks has had so much attention. For me personally, I just wasn't this engaged with it. The first time Trump won, I was like, yeah, I like Trump. But I didn't really know why. I knew it was mostly my vote for him the first time around was a vote against Hillary Clinton. Then my life experience over the next 8 years, I really grew to like Donald Trump. I did like him on The Apprentice. I was a fan, whatever. But Jay follows that up and says, usually they go through and nobody cared, but the left seems to have issues with the picks. Very telling. Well, they have an issue with Donald Trump as well. You know what I mean? And so they just have to resist Donald Trump in everything that he does. Like this isn't something new, but it's been said if Trump invented or came up with a cure for cancer, the Democrats wouldn't take it. You know what I mean? They just have to resist Donald Trump. And that's where the whole Trump derangement syndrome comes in. Like it's a real thing. Like it's the only way that it can be explained is that it like infects a person's blood and brain. And I have one of my best friends has it severely. Any opportunity he can use to invoke Donald Trump or January 6th or whatever to counter an argument, it's just like, we're not even talking about that. But they just can't help it. Tix Bomber says Gates does a lot of campus and young voter crap too with young Americans and whatnot, so it'd be easy for him to so it can be easy to get some shots that could appear shady. You're not defending him or anything. Well, we can defend him for right now. I mean, like I said, in America, you're innocent until proven guilty, and the burden is on the accuser, and the accusers haven't had anything legit really, other than help from their friends in the mainstream media, right? So. TNT says, I can't believe Schiff got another 6 years of effing up America. I can't believe it either. The people that vote for him, shame on you. Shame on you. Okay, let's play this clip of, this isn't the full questioning. It's only 44 seconds. But yeah, let's go ahead and play this one.
Are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that
No,
question.
it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one
Based
has
on what
asked
you
me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a
The
hypothetical.
president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president
Liz.
has
We're
called-
also
the
worried about
president-
Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
president has
You know what
called
we
for
should
this-
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi,
The
please
crime rate
answer
in
my
California
questions.
Based. Hate to say it, but that's really what it is. Nobody cares about Liz Cheney right now. The crime rate in California, and then I'll go back so you can finish up her words.
Be worried about
Ms. Bondi,
the
please
crime rate
answer
in
my
California
questions.
right now
You
is
are
through
aware,
the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
Your
my-
robberies
Ms.
are
Bondi,
87%
my
higher
question-
than the national
my question
average.
is this.
That's what I
My
want to be
question is this.
focused on, Senator.
Do you have the
if I'm
power to
confirmed
say
as
no to the
Attorney
president?
General.
Are you aware of any fact?
And he persisted like a scumbag these scumbag that he is, rather strongly through that whole thing. And she eventually says, look, I'm not even going to engage with your gotcha questions. I want to find the rest of that. Give me a second. I'm going to find the whole clip in entirety if I can. Thankfully, X has become a rather useful tool for news. If I can spell. Don't make fun of my typing. I still peck at the keyboard. I don't know how to type fast like a lot of people do. Okay, yeah, this was a good clip too. I don't think I saved this one. All right, I got to keep this one. Sorry, I'm finding other stuff I forgot about. That dude was a real scumbag. I said Adam Schiff is giving me other stuff. Come on. Trying to give you some props here. X. And okay, there we go. Okay, we're gonna go to this is the entirety of the questioning.
So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without you're a long practicing attorney without looking at a file.
So you would need a
Period.
factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that
Not
right?
a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case. You know,
And sitting here,
72%, excuse me,
sitting here today.
Senator, 72% of
Please,
Americans
I only have
have
7
lost
minutes.
faith
Sitting
in the
here-
Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator,
I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You
of
can't answer that
anything that's
question.
brought to me.
You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging
Sure, I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
sensitive information. So just tell us,
I'm
are you
sitting here as a
aware, just
nominee.
tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news
Are
is
you aware of
horrible. Do I know if
you
he committed
seem
a crime?
reluctant.
I have not
You
looked
seem reluctant to answer a simple question.
So cutting in real quick, she doesn't have access to the information in the investigation and the files and anything like that right now. She's just a nominee. So Adam Schiff is being disingenuous in this line of questioning. And it's funny because it's like he's almost demanding. I mean, look at his eyes. They look just so evil and violent right there. He just paused it randomly. But he's giving this oh, shoot, I forgot what I was saying there. I got distracted by his devil eyes. What he's doing is he's trying to almost, it looks like to me, cover for the previous DOJ, right? Am I saying DOJ? Is she DOJ? Now I'm confusing things, but talking about Jack Smith and oh my goodness, there's so many names to remember now I can't even think of. Was it Mayorkas? Is he the one that was running it before her? Anyways, it's like he's saying, you're not going to do what your predecessor did, are you? You know what I mean? He's like pressuring her to make sure that, you know, they're not going to get the treatment. It's like, well, if she comes out and says no and agrees with them, then they're going to use that against her and say, well, she said that she wasn't going to go after and this and that and whatever. And it's like, you're just trying to get her to commit to not doing what has already been done. The president that was already set by her predecessors. It's kind of gross. Oh, what's up? Just me. Yeah, Atlas had to leave. He left a little bit after 8. He had to go take care of the baby and do some family stuff. So we were in the middle of covering the Pete Hegseth part of the confirmation, and I wanted to finish that up, and I wanted to get into this Pam Bondi thing as well. Merrick Garland, yeah, I wanted to say Mayorkas. Merrick Garland, thank you, House, once again. Appreciate your contribution. Yeah, you know, they went after Trump, their political enemies, wholeheartedly with no shame, full in the open. Sent FBI into Mar-a-Lago. Jack Smith sent FBI into Mar-a-Lago with orders to use deadly force if necessary. And you know, it's shameful that Adam Schiff is up here asking this type of stuff.
Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that
No,
question.
it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one
Based
has
on what
asked
you
me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a
The
hypothetical.
president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president
Liz.
has
We're
called-
also
the
worried about
president-
Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
president has
You know what
called
we
for
should
this-
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi,
The
please
crime rate
answer
in
my
California
questions.
right now
You
is
are
through
aware,
the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
Your
my-
robberies
Ms.
are
Bondi,
87%
my
higher
question-
than the
my
national
question
average.
is this.
That's what I
My
want to be
question is this.
focused on, Senator.
Do you have the
if I'm
power to
confirmed
say
as
no to the
Attorney
president?
General.
And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell us, can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence to say that? Do you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election? Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I
No, I'm
won't
just
do it.
asking you a simple
I
question.
won't play
If you can
politics
speak truth
with any
to
ongoing
power. So
investigation,
let me ask you another.
like you did
let
leaking
me-
your
let me ask
colleague
you-
Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question. If you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election? Yes or no? Was there
I
or
can
was there
tell
not?
you what I saw when I went
That's
as an
not my,
advocate
that's
to
not
the
my
campaign.
question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that.
He just loves to hear himself talk. He's such a piece of shit. And he's sitting there pointing at her.
Even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It will also be important that you give good advice to the president. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president. We will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a case.
so you
Let me
look at-
finish. On a case-by-case
Okay,
basis.
okay, good.
And I abhor violence to police officers.
Follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president, Mr. President? I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
And
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as
do,
well
will
as
you
the
be able to
ongoing
review
investigation.
hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am
Of course
asked
you
to
won't.
look
So
at.
will you advise the
Hey,
president?
can I
will
answer
you-
the question?
Well, my question
I
is,
would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
you'll be able to review
Listen, I'm
hundreds
not
of
going to
cases on the first day?
mislead this body nor you.
All right, let me ask another question.
I love how she's pushing back. You know what I mean? It's just, well, I mean, you kind of have to in this situation because she's probably pissed off the way he's treating her.
Don't want to answer that. Let me answer
You were
another question.
censured by
It will
Congress,
also-
Senator, for
it will
comments just
also-
like this that
it
are
will
so reckless.
It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do you
department.
see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation?
Like the J6 committee headed up by the Democrats? What are you talking about, dude? I think you should have left that one out.
Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give this committee and the American people that assurance?
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was
There we
false?
go.
Is that why you're
Why do
frightened
you
now?
have
I can't
difficulty?
believe this is even.
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe
Why do you
you're
have
asking such a
difficulty?
question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
It shouldn't be a difficult question.
I thought their answer was great. It's not a difficult question. It's just difficult for you to understand and hear her answer, you dipshit. I hate that guy. Oh, I hate him. But yeah, this confirmation hearing today really scored some points for her in my mind, like I said in the beginning. But I wanted to show this. I came across this one and it reminded me this guy was just as bad as Schiff. I'm not going to play it. It's not a full 6 minutes, but we'll play this clip right here of it. Oh, I didn't click
Your
play.
job will be, I'm speaking, your job will be to protect voters and election workers, not to undermine and dox them. Now, I know that earlier you agreed that Joe Biden is in fact president, but many of the president-elect's inner circle continue to spread the big lie about the 2020 election. Then we'll move on to a different topic. I know that's
Senator,
one
you were
that you're obviously
speaking.
not comfortable
May
with.
I speak? You
When
cut me
I ask
off
you the
when I
next
was
question,
speaking.
you can speak, and I hope you answer, Ms. Bondi.
Well, I'd
now,
like
when
to
we met
answer the
yesterday,
previous one, Senator.
when we met yesterday,
You pointed your finger at me and
you
said
did not
you were
seem to be
speaking.
familiar
Let me answer
with
my
the
question. I'm not going to be
Citizenship
bullied by you,
Clause, the
Senator
14th
Padilla.
Amendment of the United States of America, which was deeply disappointing.
I guess you
And I'm
didn't want to
hoping you're
hear
more
my
familiar
answer
with it
about
today
Pennsylvania.
after I gave an opportunity to study overnight. So can you tell me and this committee what the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment says?
Senator, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm not here to do your homework and study for you. If I am confirmed
No,
as
you're
Attorney
the one
General,
asking for a confirmation
hey,
vote,
you
ma'am.
cut me off. Can I please finish?
What does the 14th Amendment say?
Senator, the 14th Amendment, we all know, addresses birthright citizenship. I've been a state prosecutor. I've been a state AG. I look forward to, even given your remarks today, working with you and the people of California if I am confirmed as the 87th Attorney General of the United States of America. I didn't take your homework assignment. I'm sorry. I was preparing for today.
And that's a good point that she made right there. I love that she said that. And Tix Bomber says right here, I gave you an opportunity to study overnight, says the man under 8 federal indictments currently. But yeah, she's like, I'm not going to do your little one-on-one homework. I've been meeting with your colleagues on the left and the right. She actually points out in one of the videos I think I have staged here that that one of these Democrat ladies didn't actually meet with Pam Bondi. She wasn't willing to go and meet with her. And so Pam's been trying to have these one-on-one meetings with these individuals. And Jay says, give that man a breathalyzer. Oh, that's good. That's funny stuff. But like I was
Your
saying,
job will be.
oh, sorry. Like I was saying that let me find my spot here. Okay. That I like how she's willing to fight back against these people. And he did. His whole line of questioning, I heard that whole like 6 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is they're given. And he kept, and the Democrats love doing this too. They love to ask questions, but it's really just a statement. You know what I mean? It's framing. And then he wouldn't let her answer anything. So that's what she finally started saying. Can I at least answer your question? Like, what the hell are you doing? And it's just political theater once again. These people just get on their soapbox and they try to exuberate their power. Did I say exuberate right? Did I use that right? And it's just a shame. It's a waste of time. She's gonna have to go through it again tomorrow too. This is Pam Bondi calling out Mazie Hirono for refusing to talk with her before the confirmation hearing. Okay, this is the one that I was mentioning right here.
That you as Attorney General should investigate.
Sorry, the volume's low.
That you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived political enemies. Would you do so?
Senator Hirono, I wish you had met with me. Had you met with me, we could have discussed many things and gotten to know.
I am
You could
listening
have
to you
gotten to
now.
know me.
Could you respond to the question?
Yeah, you were the only one
They're just such pricks. They never let the person answer a question.
who refused to meet with me, Senator. But what we would have discussed is that it is the job of the Attorney General to
I'm very
follow
happy to
the
listen to
law.
your responses under oath, Ms. Bondi. So I think it's really important to us that the Attorney General be independent of the White House. And you have a president-elect who considers the AG's office his law firm. I would like to know whether if the president suggests, hints, asks, that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived enemies?
Wait, what's going on right here? This is her microphone. Is this her vape? She got a vape sitting there just accessible? What the hell is that?
Senator, I certainly have not heard the president say that. But what I will tell you is 2/3 of Americans have lost faith in the Department of Justice. And it's statements like that, I believe,
Ms.
that make
Bondi.
people continue to lose faith. If I am confirmed as Attorney General, it will be my job
Getting
to
on
not
to my
only
next
keep
question,
America
you're not
safe,
responding.
but restore integrity to that department.
don't we
and that's
move
what
on
I
to
plan
something
on
that
doing
you said?
every single day as Attorney General.
On August 25th, 2025,
Her comb over doesn't hide her bald spot. It's a pin with a bite tip. Or is that, maybe that's a straw. Maybe that's a cup with a straw. I don't know. It looks like a vape. Metal straw. Okay. She answered. Oh, when she answered that they content is damning that POS interrupts her. Typical Democrat behavior. Yeah, exactly. It's just like, do you not want to hear the answer to your question? Like, let the person speak. This is a confirmation hearing. It's about Pam Bondi. It's not about you. Like, get off your soapbox. Yeah, now you can see it's a mug. Straw. You crack me up, TNT.
the following two initial questions. First, since you became Have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
Ms. Bondi, I am focused on two things in my evaluation of President-elect Trump's nominees. The first is whether the nominee is qualified and experienced enough to do the job. The second is a fitness to serve, which includes putting loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to the president. Unfortunately, in my view, many of President-elect Trump's nominees are lacking in at least one of these two requirements. Ms. Bondi, your experience as a prosecutor is the kind of thing we would expect to see in a nominee for Attorney General, but I do have questions and concerns about potential conflicts of interest, about whether you will keep DOJ's law enforcement responsibilities independent of the president's political whims, and about whether you will let facts and evidence guide your decisions. So let's start with the importance of facts, which you say is important.
Right. TNT, you make a good point there. I was just like, she's actually reading word for word this questioning. You know, you got 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. You can't memorize your questions. Like, is it really that important to you if you can't memorize your concerns with Pam Bondi? Like, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So, anyways, that's all I got pretty much saved. That's all I was able to find in the short amount of time that I was preparing for the this Pam Bondi thing. As you guys, some of you guys know, I had to work outside shoring up holes in the fence for a good few hours today, and that took away from my research time. But I was listening to this, but then to find the clips after that was not as easy. But appreciate everybody for being here. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. It is 9:30, and we've gone way over time. But I just wanted to make sure I covered those two things as well as I could. We got more. We got the second round of questioning for Pam Bondi tomorrow, once again. And some of the other cabinet appointees were questioned as well. So maybe we'll be able to put together some of those things for Atlas's show, his solo show on Saturday, because I will be traveling to DC that day. As a lot of you guys know, really looking forward to seeing, apparently, forgive my vulgarity, there is another pink pussy hat protest on the 18th that I'm arriving. So I hope I can get some footage of that. And I'll definitely be sharing it. I don't know if I'm going to share it on the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get back in the groove of things after being sick, and I don't want to confuse the algorithm too much, but I will share a lot of that in the Discord for sure. I'm still debating about what I'm going to share on the YouTube channel and how I can frame it within the parameters of what I'm doing with my daily videos and the lives. Maybe I can load some stuff up for the lives once I get back and share it with you guys here on the channel, but that'll be at the earliest, because I'm going to be in DC for like 4 or 5 days. We're going to be there for the inauguration. We're going to be there for the Trump rally on the 19th. And then we're going to check out some of the stuff that DC has to offer, like the Smithsonian and some of those other things while we're there in town. So I don't know if I'll be back. I know I won't be back on Monday. I decided I'm not going to bring the laptop and try to worry about going live. I might be back by Wednesday. I have to double check the dates, but I'll certainly be back a week from Saturday. So make sure you guys are on the look out for that. But you know what I'm saying, it'll be a week after everything kind of happens. So I don't know if you guys will be interested in seeing any of my personal footage or not, but I will be sharing that in the Discord 100% for sure, because I can share it straight off my phone. I'm also going to take my camera. I think I'm going to take my camera. I'm trying to pack as light as possible. But other than that, yeah, unplugged trip does sound like a good plan. And then I'll be ready to come back healthy, because I've been sick, and start off my year as I plan to on January 1st. Strong. It'll be more towards February 1st, but that's okay. I can still reach my goals. I want to get the channel over 100,000 subscribers. And frankly, I want to get the income from this channel in the six-figure range. So that's going to take a lot of hard work and persistence. I appreciate you guys for showing up. A lot of you guys show up every show, and that just motivates me to do better and to continue doing this type of stuff. So I'm super grateful to all of you guys. And, with that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you all so much. It's been really good time sharing all this with you guys. And I'll see you guys in a week or so. So I'll miss you. But Atlas will hold it down. Hold it down just fine. So anyways, I'll see you guys then. And also, can't forget, Christ is King. You guys be blessed.
Let's war rolling at the start. We here to bring the truth. Jar open this podcast. We breaking through the fake news. They try to silence us, but we will be subdued. We're bearded alpha males here to save the youth. Spitting fire on the mic with the bass Christian takes. Exposing the lies, keeping the demons at bay. We ain't afraid to speak up. We won't be swayed. Jar open this podcast where the truth is laid. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up. We're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. We ain't playing games, we're on a mission to awaken the masses with our intuition. Pulling out the corruption with no inhibition. Jar open this podcast, sparking a revolution. We're not afraid to stand tall in a world full of deceit. We're the voice of reason, bringing light to the street. Keeping it real, never missing a beat. Jar openers podcast, where the truth meets the heat. Jar openers, cracking open the lies. We're rolling Atlas up, we're here to rise. Bearded alpha males saving the youth from the godless demons, spreading the truth. Jar openers podcast, where the truth will never cease. Join us on the journey to bring back peace. We're rolling Atlas up, fearless in our release. Jar openers podcast, where the lies will decrease.